kind of recognizing whatever commotion has happened over here. There would have been like huge blasts of noise in the actual spell casting. The other option is to have you all kind of wander over in the morning. I'm usually very open to the group kind of starting off how they would like to. So if we pose it to you all that there's a nearby like commotion of spells, yelling, screaming. Do you think, and also to leave it open to whether Niall is already adventuring with Darcy, or rather Rin, and already adventuring with Darren, or are you all kind of going to converge on the same place? I would say to have you all converging here, and it can happen up to you all whether that's during the night, right as things happen, or whether you wait for the morning to start to go. So let's throw it to you all for a few moments to kind of think amongst yourselves out loud how you would like to encounter this commotion and the new adventures.
Quick question: was anybody bleeding?
There was definitely plenty of blood.
So
I did all the bleeding.
okay, so I think I would smell the blood and hear the chaos and kind of get curious and just naturally head that way. I feel like I would be on my own though, just based on how my character operates. But like I said, we could all converge into that one battle area if that's the way you want to do it.
So Rin and Darren, what do you all think? What do you think your characters would do? Do you think you're going to investigate right away?
So Darren would be drawn to the sound of all of the danger and flee to a rooftop to get a vantage point on all of the action and try and gain a view of what's going on.
You don't really have a rooftop, but you could definitely climb a tree to try to get a semblance of this. But you're in a thick jungle,
Oh, pardon,
so
pardon.
there's not necessarily like good viewpoints here. But we could say that you climb a tree and have at least a sense of kind of looking off, and yeah, there's signs of ice in a place that's normally about 100 degrees.
If Darren can't hold on to the icy limbs, then he'll hide behind some trunks and kind of slowly slink forward and see what's going on.
Gotcha. And are Darren and Rin already adventuring together?
No, Rin woke up in a medic tent because of all of the explosions and loud commotions, and is ducking and covering and running out and sees the other folks.
So they're already in the wilderness. You can be kind of recovering on your own kind of thing, but you're kind of in an isolated position where you guys are already in a jungle, and I don't necessarily want to make you wait to actually have to find civilization. And that's part of where I say it might be advantageous to already know Darren, and perhaps Darren is the one taking care of you. Otherwise, to maybe push that back a little bit further, and maybe you were found near Camp Vengeance and they helped you recover, and it's like about 10 days or so past and you're now like wandering off on your own again. I feel like those are kind of two options on how to play that idea.
Darren will have traveled with Rin then. Sorry for all of this. But no, like if Rin was injured and Darren's kind of been working through the healing part of it for the past so long and had a little sling that he was dragging her through the wilderness in.
So, if you all kind of converge as everything is kind of winding down in these few moments here, there's going to be a rather large group of people in this particular place, far more than we presently have on the actual map here. But you'll basically see kind of towards the center of this area a older woman who is wearing very traditional Chultan robes. She is she has kind of longer dreadlocks and more or less very colorful leathers and kind of gossamer fabrics that she wears. She seems to be kind of looking over everybody and kind of nursing some of their wounds. You would see a gentleman who's probably about mid 40s, dark black hair, who is also wearing a lot of leathers. He in particular has like a green tunic to him, carrying both a bow as well as a sword, and has thick gloves over his hands at present, as well as a tall lizard man who seems to be about just under 6 feet tall, probably about 200 pounds, and he too seems to be carrying a sword. His sword is actually a gleaming white that is um, rather stark in how it jumps out in the night and how it is catching the light of the nearby campfire. So those are just like three of the people you all see. If I can I have Jarek do a quick description of himself, and then we'll go down the original three, just like this is just kind of like a physical, what is the first thing that people will see when they gain sight of you? And then once we throw it back to the new players, we'll have you do the same thing. It's purely just like that. From 30 feet away, what do people notice?
Sure. So Jarek is a human, about 6 feet, maybe inch or two less. Pretty lean build. He's wearing studded leather armor over some, normal clothing. It all looks up very beat up. There's scratches and marks, and he's clearly been kind of in the jungle for a while. He's got kind of very short black hair, not as short as it used to be. Kind of been growing out, kind of a little shaggy now. Beard and goatee. Um, he's got a pair of swords on his hips, and he's got a short bow slung over his shoulder, along with actually a small crossbow. Well, that'd be in his pack. Uh, yeah, so the short sword and scimitar on his hips, and the bow, and yeah, I guess that's be about what you'd see.
And then can you describe Taryn for us?
Well, when you see Terran, you'll see a average-looking halfling, standing around 3 feet, around 40 pounds. Nothing really stands out about him. Uh, Light brown hair, a brown beard that at one time probably was trimmed down, but is now looking pretty scraggly. Uh, Lightly tanned skin, wearing some brown linen shirt, leather armor over it, showing signs of battle and wear and tear by now. The same with his woolen pants. On his belt, you can see a short sword and a dagger, and on his back, you can see a short bow.
And then Eileen, who also is the source of most of the blood.
Yeah, Island's blonde, green eyes, 6 foot, skinny as a rail, covered from head to foot in mud and blood. He looks a little wrecked. He's got a short bow, a pair of daggers. Sort of cocks his head and looks at you walking up and seems super interested in what this might bring.
So as everybody starts to approach this situation, everybody in this general area is going to start to smell violets, and it's just permeating stronger and stronger the closer you get to this group. As everybody approaches this clearing, you're going to see that there is about a 30-foot long wall that has kind of separated off a section of the clearing to the left of their little campfire, and it's just a clear blue ice that stands about 8 feet tall, and it extends through this distance. And you can see as the heat is almost melting it moment by moment. It's already starting to not necessarily pour water, but you can see like as it's just kind of sweating away liquid moment by moment. Um, when everybody starts to step into the clearing, can you describe yourself?
As you see Darren and Rin approaching, Darren is shorter than 3 feet tall, and for the most part, you can only see a small green cloak, shape of a cloak. But whenever Darren moves, you can see underneath the cloak a short sword with a unstrung short bow lashed across his back, and he's got a couple of series of ropes with the sling that he's been carrying Rin, who's sitting up along behind him.
And Rin appears to be a younger elf. She's in darker gray robes, stoic but short at 5 feet. She is equipped with a short sword and a crossbow.
Well, you see Niall kind of walk, just through the bushes. He's very finely dressed, very regal almost. You can tell that he's certainly probably comes from a place of money. Although that being said, his clothes do look old. Some may even say ancient, but they are well looked after. He has armor on his clothing, has a shield, a little rapier, and he's a kind of pale white, but he looks human. Yeah, he's just kind of just walking in and seeing what all the fuss is about. He's about 6'6", or 6'4", 6'6", fairly tall. Brownish black hair. The only thing really striking about his appearance is his eyes. His eyes are kind of like a very deep crimson red, almost completely. Actually, it's a bit unusual, but yeah, he's just he's here to see what all the huff is about, and yeah, it's my guy.
So as everybody starts to walk into this clearing, and you see like the last few moments of these people kind of cleaning up themselves and trying to kind of gather themselves, you see a bunch of different pieces of small vines that are still kind of like wriggling about as if they have life to them. And a few of them who are seeming a little bit healthier are kind of going around, stabbing their blades into these last bits of life and clearing out the last vestige of whatever it seems to attack them. And it seems to have been plant life, which wouldn't be too surprising for anybody this deep into the jungles of Chopt. But as everybody starts to notice the others, what is everybody thinking?
So Jarek, with his adrenaline still up after the fight, and maybe hearing and then seeing the newcomers approach, he would turn towards the sound, and kind of his weapons still seem at the ready, but seeing that they're not more vines, he would kind of they would like lower a bit, and he would call out, friend or foe.
Hopefully, a friend. And yourself, friend or foe?
Darren doesn't try to disguise his and Rin's approach at all, and he's like, "Good God, what happened here? There's so much danger out here all the time." Very non-threatening, no weapons drawn, unconcerned air.
Yeah, Niall's being a little more cautious. His shield's kind of up in a defensive position, just in case this turns south.
Yeah, so Jarek would kind of, his weapons would lower a little bit more, and he would replying to Niall, he would say, uh, adventurers, we're traveling through the jungle, and presume the same of you.
It appears so. Yes, I heard commotion and could smell the blood.
It's been a lot of it.
Yes, I could smell it quite a distance away. Is anyone seriously hurt? Not that I could do much, but I can certainly help stem some blood or hold a wound or something. But anyway, I am nice. Greetings, everyone. I am Niall Denham. I'm just been kind of going through this area. He starts approaching. He kind of lowers his weapons too and puts his rapier away and puts his shield back on his back.
And Jarek would nod at his introduction, kind of nod in greeting. Name's Jarek, and he would similarly move to sheath his weapons as he is sensing that the danger has passed, and this isn't a new threat.
That's good. Well, seems you folks had some issues with some plants.
Yeah. Island laughs. He's like, yeah, it was a little better than plants. But we're glad you're here. Tell me more about smelling my blood. There's a lot of it. It's mine.
Yes, I've always, for long, I've had the ability to smell blood. It's just, combat and that sort of thing. You get attuned to it.
Smell of violets is starting to dissipate as you all start to smell baked ham.
Why does it smell like baked ham here?
Is anybody else hungry?
Dragon bait.
Just kind of approaching through the camp, you'll see is the only lizard type person. Kind of fits the name of Dragonbait a little bit more than others. Gets a little closer to different people, and as he kind of approaches Niall, you'll see he's sheathing his gleaming sword and kind of looks closer to you, still hand on the hilt. Smell of ham still like very strong as he kind of approaches you. And Artis is just going to look from the south, and he's gonna. That smell would be my friend here. It's his most obvious form of communication.
I smell and ham specifically.
I think it might have to do with your sense of smell that he's nervous.
Okay, that's unique. In all my years, I've not come across a creature that communicates by the smell of ham, but it's first for everything. Anyway, By the looks of some of you probably should take a little rest and patch yourself up. Assuming the danger is over.
I would pipe up here, but well, we're still in the jungle, so probably not over yet.
This isn't the first time we've been attacked by the foliage, so learn to always keep an eye out.
Right. It seems like the work of druids. Like usually they're associated with nature. At least in my experience. Unless it's just the forest, and that's a possibility too.
I think we wish it was druids. We could maybe ascribe some purpose to the attacks, but it seems just the jungle hates us.
Well, that's a possibility too. It's quite. I've been waylaid a few times by different creatures on my journey here.
I think their purpose was pretty clear. They wanted to kill us and make us into fertilizer.
Always seeing the bright side.
Well, nice camp you got here. Besides all the dead plant creatures.
Are Rin and Darren still outside of the camp, kind of just like right on the outskirts?
Yeah, they're just kind of hanging out, observing the interaction as everyone calms down. And Darren has like reached into his backpack and grabbed a handful of bandages and is trying to look helpful if he can be in any way. Pretty open.
Bryn is standing back a little bit, observing the situation, taking it in, a little bit hesitant to approach the group. However, she realizes the strength in numbers and wants to be a part of the group.
Yeah, so seeing Darren like getting out the bandages and seeing them watching and again kind of with the idea that these newcomers are not a threat, Jarek would kind of motion towards Darren and Rin and kind of towards their campfire and be like, it's not much, but you're welcome to join us. Safety in numbers, all that.
But actually kind of feels good knowing we're not the only ones having a hard time out here.
I think now I'll take some like sticks and branches, throw in the fire, and stoke it a bit.
Well, maybe our luck's turning. We camped as 4, and now we're 9.
Actually, as you say that, poof, a shell-like creature appears next to Niall. We're 10 now.
Who's your friend?
Always me from the future or the past. The ancient texts weren't so clear. But he's essentially me. He can't talk. It's not really a person.
That seems kind of bleak for a future.
Yeah.
Not a person anymore.
It's useful. And you kind of see now for a second, just like concentrate and it disappears. I can kind of just do that whenever it's really helpful.
Oh yeah, seems helpful.
That's a neat trick, and Jarek will kind of assuming Darren and Rin are approaching, he'll introduce himself as he did to Niall earlier, and then kind of gesture towards Taryn and Island and the others, and to let them introduce themselves as well.
Darren would boldly stride forward and reach straight up to shake your guys' hands and introduce himself as Darren, and take back his cloak, and you see a very, very smooth, very cute little button face with a short brown mop of hair on top. Just a amiable looking guy.
I think Nala will go up to you and like kind of reach down, extend his hand.
And as you get to Terran,
I'm
he will smile quite brightly and go, "Ha! Fresh Shalamura. I didn't think I would ever find someone smaller than me."
I am a proud record holder at this point. If you're shorter than me, I'd be impressed.
Ren introduces herself to the group, appearing still quite reserved, and but goes up to each one and says hello and shakes their hand.
You would notice upon shaking Nala's hand that his hand's really cold.
Oh,
So while you all are kind of going about this, anybody who actually, when you approach Dragonbait, when he goes to shake your hands, and he'll take a few moments with each of you in like a kind of like slower, longer pause where it's like an almost awkward, like 40-second handshake where he kind of puts your hand in between his hands and kind of bows low to you, and you smell a sweet smell of honeysuckle. And then eventually he'll kind of raise his head and you see like a little bit of a smile. And as each of you kind of go through this process, everybody would notice shortly after he does this, he'll make a few like clicks and whistles all over towards the person who's now kind of standing off to his lonesome, Artie in the south side of the camp. Um, and it gives you like a weird feeling, but each time it happens, there's that move from like a ham smell to the honeysuckle, and then you smell like lemons.
I would imagine Nala thinks to himself, there's worse things a creature could smell like. I've smelled worse.
We think lemons means he likes us. Is that right, Artie?
Lemons is definitely a good sign.
Well, we should sit because we have a lot of introductions to make. When everybody went to sleep, Artie arrived with dragon bait and probably some stories to tell.
And I feel like Jarek's, because I think he was woken up. He hasn't met this Artie before the vines attacked, and he kind of, I think his eyebrows would kind of lift involuntarily a bit when Island mentions his name as Artie. But he wouldn't say anything at the moment with everything else going on. But it would definitely kind of, anybody who was maybe looking at him at that moment would maybe have noticed the kind of involuntary kind of eyebrow raise.
Yeah, and Island is looking at you at that moment and gives you a nod.
So depending on how deep you all want to get into introductions here, you can kind of progress through this. Otherwise, we can kind of like go through, assuming you all basically spend this time around the campfire. A few of you are still running high on adrenaline, and kind of take that time to discuss things, and slowly people start to bed down for the night. You've got a larger camp. You can stoke the fire, and everybody feel a little bit more comfortable as things kind of progress. But if you all would like, we can fast forward through the morning if anybody doesn't have anything else they'd like to accomplish in these few moments after meeting.
I think Nala would like to kind of look around for some small animals. See if he'd probably take an hour or so, or 2 hours, and go hunting.
We would have some fairly fresh terrafolk meat. I don't know if that's that would be kind of like what we had had for a meal. So that would be within kind of sight. I don't know if that's the sort of thing now be interested in. There'd be some probably some of it would still be raw.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, he could. I suppose he could.
Darren will pretty quickly put himself to being helpful towards anything that he can, checking around, gathering sticks for the firewood, digging out any holes need to be dug, like starting to cook some of the meat and process it for you guys. He's just helpful as can be, and he does offer to take first watch if there is going to be any watching.
Yeah, just to clarify, now I wasn't trying to say like don't go out looking for game. I was just wanted to mention that would be you would see that in the campfire or in the camp. So just
Oh
wanted
yeah. Well, okay. If I have a choice, Niall, I think would go and try to hunt something. He likes his food fresh. Yeah. So, I mean, I can just do like a roll or something, or it's up to you.
In the long run here, are you going to skip sleeping tonight with Niall?
How close are we tonight? Is it like are we?
I mean, I would say if you feel like you need to eat, you can say that you've already eaten. If you are going to go hunting here, you're going to miss out on sleeping, is probably the biggest thing that I would say. Part of why I wanted to fast forward past and through this is I feel like this is like a 2 a.m. watch already when
Okay.
this is kind of all going down.
All right. Well, Niall, just grab a few hunks of raw meat and just head on to bed then, and take I'll probably take second watch then. All right.
Well, Island is going to go back to sleep then. Because I've had a night.
So
Taryn will
as
up.
everybody kind of sets in for my bad, Taryn.
Yeah, I was gonna say third watch for Taryn. You want to stay up for a bit?
Yeah, I know we ended last session with me saying you guys can take that long rest. So again, I'm not really going to be rolling for this one like a traditional Night's Watch. You guys are good to go through it. So if everybody is all set here, everybody can take a long rest, and we will pick up with that next day as you all are waking up inside of the jungle. Again, you are probably halfway on your way towards where Vorn is. You all have a pretty solid idea that you are probably vaguely due west of Camp Vengeance and probably about a day away from making Camp Vengeance if you were to head that way. Or you could probably make Vorn in about a day's travel.
So, who's the leader here?
Oh, that's a good question. Jarek, usually.
Well, what's the plan, Jarek? Vorn or Camp Vengeance?
Well, I see no need, still see no need for a detour back to camp right now. So my vote would be to continue on towards Vorn, and presumably like over the as they were camping and kind of getting ready for bench stuff, we would have kind of filled in the newcomers on kind of some of the stuff that we had recapped. So like in game, obviously. So kind of they would have an idea of why we're heading north towards Vorn and all that.
I don't want to lose Artie, though. Artie, what are your plans? You going to come with us?
I have been searching for a stage in this area. I'm looking for a temple that should be nearby. Well, I'm glad to have made your acquaintance. I believe it is likely time for me to move along.
Taryn will pop up. What kind of temple? I mean, we've seen a few temples. Or ruins basically. But
Orlunga is a ziggurat in this area, a ancient sage is rumored to be accessible through time.
accessible through time. I don't know about that, but I mean there was some. Not sure what a cigarette is, to be honest, but we did see something in Mbala with a lot of
Uh,
stone.
it's a interesting stone structure, and he's just gonna kind of like taking like a stick, just kind of carve out this. It will look a lot like a pyramid. It's basically a stepped structure, and as he kind of describes it, he's just kind of showing like Oralunga is often described as if it has 4 levels, each level broken apart by a set of steps, and as you progress further higher, it gets narrower and narrower to the top. And basically, a ziggurat is a stepped pyramid.
Well, this gets Island's attention because he's definitely interested in any kind of ancient structures. Um, how far? How far from where we are now?
Yeah, like do you know the
And
general
he'll.
area?
My bad. What were you thinking there, Chris?
Yeah, I was just checking. Like, yeah, did he know the general area at least, or is he just going wildly for it?
I kind of looks over at Dragonbait. Time is less of a worry for our search so much as keeping true to the mark. And you can see he's carefully thinking about all of his words as he kind of says things, but he also recognizes like he's already given up more than he should. And also recognizes that you who are there as part of a battle already probably know more than you should.
And Jarek would kind of looking towards Artie and be like, I didn't have time to, with everything going on, I didn't have time to thank you last night, but that was a neat trick with that ice wall. Are you a some sort of wizard?
I've, yes, spent much of my life studying the arcane arts.
And kind of Jarek would be, as he asks this, he'd be kind of like trying to watch Artist's face, to see if he like hesitate, as he hesitates, or if there's any sort of kind of can get any kind of like tell when he asks this question. Thinking of what they know about the ring of what they were told by the frost giants about the ring of winter.
Rin also perks up in this conversation and turns her attention towards it and starts to listen and maybe approaches the two guys as they're talking.
So depending on like kind of how far you kind of discuss things, he ends up bringing up at some point having spent a certain amount of time um in a kind of faraway land where he starts to describe um oh shit, I need the actual name offhand, give me a second. Cormier, and he starts to describe a little bit of time that he spent with this particular king. And let me get a history check from everybody here.
That's like my fourth one in a row. Am I doing that wrong?
What are you doing?
Yeah, you're definitely crushing the ones.
I want new dice.
Does Darren have a modifier for history?
He does not.
Gotcha.
You need a
All right.
virtual dice jail.
I show +3. Oh,
Okay,
never mind.
Yeah, it's not going to matter too much with the 4, though.
Right.
So as he's kind of describing this time in Cormyr, it's going to kind of stick out that you make sure that I use the correct name of the king. But he is going to reference someone who is long dead. And yeah, I don't have the name of the king offhand here. But as he kind of discusses this, I think Niall, Island, and Cameron are going to pick up, and Darren are going to pick up that this king that he is speaking about in Cormyr is someone who is long dead. This is somebody who has passed away almost 150 years ago, and you guys are talking to about a 40-year-old human. And as he's kind of describing these years that he spent in Cormyr, you'll kind of pick up on these things where he's like lost in the nostalgia as he's describing this time. And you can when I was in service studying as a young archaeologist under the king's name, who I can't currently find, and he just kind of is talking about this time where he was in Cormyr studying, and he's just kind of like lost in thought before everybody's going to notice as he kind of like snaps back to it and kind of catches his mind and kind of ceases to wander for a moment. Well, I was much younger, and yes, and kind of like peters off, um, kind of lost for a moment, still like inside of his head. You can see, again, artist is not necessarily somebody who's hiding a lot. He's not normally sharing a lot, but there's often those moments where he does kind of lose track of what he's trying to keep a little more personal.
Artists, I study archaeology as well. Dedicated my life, and the king you mentioned from Cormyr, that was more than a lifetime ago. How is it that you come to be before us and seem so young?
The weave is a powerful ally for maintaining some things, but it often has a high cost.
What was that? The weave?
Yeah, I think he means just magics in general.
Okay.
Artie, this reminds us of a story we heard when we first entered the jungle about a man who had lost his love and was searching through time to find her. Does that ring familiar to you?
Sounds like a harrowing story. Have you any recollection of it? What you've heard?
Well, that there was a man who had lost his love. Perhaps her name was Atlas. And he wandered through the jungle, trying to find his way back.
To Mesro. Always to Mesro.
Is to Mesro the name, or is it a place?
The place. Mesro has been lost for some time.
Tell us more about Mesro. We have not heard of the place before.
You, in fact, have Mesro on your map. I don't think there's any chance that Island would not have studied that map that he received close enough to know that Mesro is, in fact, one of the locations that is marked from Syndra.
Well, so I think Island will pull his map out and point and say, is this the Mesro you're looking for?
That's not looking for. It's not. It was there. It no longer is.
But did somebody move it?
I am afraid so.
Pretty strong to move a whole city.
So the same folks who kind of hit those, realistically, I'd say pretty much everybody here except for maybe Rin at this point. Mesro as a kind of general myth is definitely a city that was lost in the fall of I feel like I'm going to throw out the wrong name here. In the fall of Rosni, the actual necromancer who rose all of this undead that now plagues Chalt, Mesro was like eradicated and removed from this earth. It wasn't destroyed, it just ceased to be. Many people have found Mesro of late. There's been people who have gone there of late, but it's basically just an empty part of the jungle. And again, it's one of those things that is, for anybody historically interested, it's one of those places that is kind of the recognition of sometimes the weave is attached to a place and too powerful of magic actually damages physical things and not just magical things. But Artis in particular is not terribly keen to discuss the subject.
Artis, we have a mission as well to find Vorn. Do you know something of Vorn in this jungle? You seem to know your way around.
Describe to me what this Vorn is.
Vorn is a traveling companion of a wizard that we met in Port Narzaru. And we think he's a golem of some sort. And there's a control amulet to make him move. We have to find him and bring him back.
And you'll kind of see like a little perk to him as his eyebrow kind of raises on the right side of his face. And a shield guardian, I'm vaguely familiar with tales of a wizard who might have met his end in these parts, having never been seen before or seen again. But that's more common than you might expect.
Well, we have a location. It's just a day from here. But we're not sure what we're looking for a Shield Guardian's control amulet.
It's each one is perhaps most linked to the creator of the Guardian. They're often going to be some sort of pendant or part of the creature that is removed and used as a connection between oneself and the creature.
Have you heard of this Wakangu who has sent us on this mission to return Vorn?
I met Dragonbait in Port Nyanzaru. I'm aware enough of the merchant princes, but it was not among my needs to stick around and meet them closer.
No, we met the lords through Syndra, our patron. I'm curious if that name rings a bell with him.
I am not familiar with any such person.
I'm going to look over at Jarek and see if he's got anything.
So Jarek has been kind of, during this conversation, been trying to think of maybe he's conflicted about mentioning the, actually trying to like press about the ring, because he, essentially he gave the frost giants his, you know, I promised that they would, return it if they found him, but at the same time, Artis and Dragonbait basically saved them the night before. So he's been kind of like struggling with this, whether to bring it up, as Island and him have been discussing, and um, kind of eventually turns to Artis, and um, I like thank you again for your assistance last night. We did meet a couple travelers earlier who seem to be looking for you. Um, any idea why? Trying to be a little cagey about it.
Everybody's gonna start to smell violets as Artis kind of looks over to you. Zentarum.
Among others.
What others?
Pair of frost giants, as a matter of fact. They seem to be. They seem to think you took something that belonged to them.
So there's gonna be like an air of like a kind of like smoky wood and roses kind of like layered over things as Artis is going to kind of like stare, kind of head between himself, just kind of like looking down to the ground for a moment. And you are in great danger being around me. I'm sorry I walked into your camp last night. I should go on my way. And he's going to look back over towards Dragonbait and kind of nod to you all. You are all better people than to try to stop me.
I think we should let him be on his way and continue onwards.
Darren's very new to the group and will definitely take the lead, but kind of readies himself and halfway pulls his bow off his shoulder.
So the moment you go to move for your bow, you're going to see as Dragonbait already has his sword gleaming and half drawn as well. And Artie is going to raise his hand to you as his right hand comes up. Please don't do that.
Darren will take his hands off his weapon real quick and hold them up and be like, all right, okay.
And the island's gonna put his hands up and be like, we're not doing that. It's not Artie, we're not trying to stop you. We'd love to know the story, but we're grateful for your help last night. You saved our lives. We're not gonna get in the way of what you and your companion need to do. We'd like to count you amongst our friends, though, on our parting.
Dragonbait has told me enough of all of you that yes, we should part as friends. But you already know too much if you tell me the frost giants are this close. We have you in great danger. If you tell me you've already met the Zentarum, you're in greater danger. But these are sadly not the only people who are here looking for me. If we find each other in the future, it will be good to meet you again. I hope it is never as enemies, but with luck and Oralundu to my aid, I may be able to find my wife and have a reason to return what was claimed to be taken. What is Rin or Darren thinking?
Thinking like in response to that?
I just saw you like pop up the push to talk.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to zoom out on my page. My bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so Jarek is kind of still seems a little bit conflicted, given that he had promised the frost giants, but he's also, again, artists, they basically saved his life and he's not going to push anything, and he'll just kind of eventually nod and almost kind of like step back, like deferentially, and yeah.
Roll a wisdom for me. Crushing. So he's just going to kind of look over to you all, and as he kind of like steps away with Dragonbait and himself are kind of moving away from you all, he's going to kind of look to you all, and if you decide to pursue Orlunga in the future, look to the flowers and look to the wing, and with the proper blessings, may you find what you search for. And he's just going to kind of bow as they're going to kind of step back into the forest and within a few moments disappear from view.
Well, I'm going to count that as a victory because we didn't get killed by that guy.
Darren looks perplexed and says, "How can I know too much if I feel like I don't know anything at all?"
That seems the way of the jungle. Chelt.
Well, I would suggest if we run into these Entarum again, or those giants, we don't mention this little encounter.
Well, we didn't find anyone named Artis. So I concur.
Yeah, no, we only met Artie and Dragonbait. No Artis.
And Jarek will kind of give like a bit of an amused snort and be like, fair point. But,
The best mind blank ever. People who are actively trying. He said Artie. He said Artie. He said Artie.
But suppose we should go ahead and be on our way north again.
Let's find this Vorn Shield Guardian.
So I don't have a cheat sheet already kind of created for the 3 new folk. But generally speaking, on certain tests, I kind of limit it to people who have those skills, so you can do the thing and kind of be the person who excels at it. But anybody who has proficiency in survival, let me get a survival check from you all here. So as everybody kind of collects up their things and prepares to set off for the day, you all can start to move off, looking towards this area on Island's map, hoping to find signs of this Vorn, a shield guardian who seems to be the lost guardian of some wizard who would have met his end, apparently in that area of the jungle. While you are kind of progressing across this day, rains are sporadic but torrential. There's a lot of kind of walking like up and down different valleys, making your way. But eventually, kind of late in your afternoon, you are going to start to see signs of different creatures moving about this area. Let me get a bucket. Those are all high enough. You all are going to kind of pick up that there's a few different goblinoids who are in this vague area where you are looking for Vorn. As you are getting closer and closer to it, you're seeing more and more of their signs. While you all progress towards this and start to pick up these signs of the goblinoids, what's everybody kind of thinking to yourselves as you're picking up this? You're getting into a potentially more hostile area.
As we're traveling along, Darren will make sure to like quietly point out to everybody in the group what he's seeing as far as tracks and goblin activity goes.
I think Niles think to himself, they'll still smell the best, but they'll do in a pinch. And I guess it's just kind of, again, just helping the group, just pointing out like where their movements and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and Jarek is he thinks he pretty sure he recalls Eku telling them about or somebody telling them that there were this general area is kind of considered the Batiri territory. Batiri being like goblinoid like creatures that a couple of us have encountered before on our journey south, and so and as he becomes aware of the kind of the activity around him, he would be sort of kind of like loosening his weapons, in their sheaths, and maybe like making sure his bow is at the ready, or not drawing it, but kind of like that he's um, got it kind of ready to spring into action should something happen.
So are you thinking like your hands are free right now? Wait, when you say not drawing it, do you mean not like putting an arrow to the string, or do you mean not taking it to your hand?
Yeah, like almost like kind of like just like checking that like it's like how it is on his shoulder. He has access to it, but not actually drawing it yet or drawing an arrow.
Got it. So for the newer folk, part of what I'm getting to is I am usually pretty particular on how your actions, bonus, and free action kind of like work around doing things. In particular, because there's feats that allow you to draw things faster than most other people. I think it's good to kind of be a stickler with like what you can accomplish. So, for instance, like without a feat, if you intend to attack, you can basically only draw like a single weapon. And that's part of where I'm getting at. Like, at what level of a ready are you going to?
Well, my character, I will have very. Just one sec.
And what it comes down to is like that level of paranoia. Darren would already have like that kind of first experience of how people who see you drawing weapons means things are going towards combat. And in particular, I have artists kind of like slow it, but that doesn't mean something that's already possibly hostile isn't going to immediately take it into a battle. And that's part of why I bring it up. So where were you thinking with Niall?
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking like I will have already made an echo of myself. My rapier and shield would be drawn, and that, just as precaution. Like that's something that he would do. Going into just about any situation, because it's better to be ready than that.
Gotcha. So what are you thinking up there?
Yeah, sorry. Darren will make sure not to be the first one to draw his weapon this time, but as long as nothing bad happens, he too will ready his short bow.
And Ren is pretty quick to cast mage armor without seeming threatening to anyone, but well before anything scary starts.
I think now is that time. You've got 8 hours with mage armor. This is already kind of late in your day. So I think right now you're either likely to have basically cast mage armor like 4 or 6 hours ago, and you have maybe 2 hours left of it, or at very least seeing the signs as they are tracking this. Um, Goblinoids are a hostile, chaotic enough species that you're probably casting mage armor the moment somebody says goblin.
Agree.
And then as far as Darren goes, Niall again already has like shield and sword in hand, walking forward. So having your bow in hand isn't any more at the ready than anybody else at that point.
Yeah.
Right on. Darren will also kind of hang just a little bit back behind and off to the side of the group to make sure he has a full eye full of the situation, but we'll also check behind him just in case. Just keeping an eye out.
So kind of moving forward here, as people start to ready themselves, noticing the different goblinoid tracks and whatnot. Eku is going to take a moment to. Please, friends, if we are able to avoid taking things to such bloodshed, it would be better to not have to kill any who we can avoid taking to such permanent ends.
Taryn,
Uh,
thinking back to when we first met the Batiri while we were going down the river in a boat. Just pipe up and yeah, the Batiri, they're honestly kind of hilarious. I mean, you guys will love to meet them. Yes, not very bright, but certainly hilarious.
So as you all kind of like push forward there, Taryn can definitely like give you all more detail where there was definitely a point where the river was blocked by these like stacked up goblins who are standing one on top of another. So you just have like an almost totem pole of these like crazy masks that were the size of the actual goblins. In general, I think there were multiple times that the goblins actually fell over because they were not actually stood up on each other very like sturdily. And they, I feel like they like took you guys for some coin, but they didn't actually know what the coin was worth. So I feel like you guys gave them some copper.
I think we gave them some copper and I gave him a dagger too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a
So,
bit of food, yeah, like tribute or like a bribe essentially to let us pass.
so as you all kind of keep pushing forward here and kind of sharing some of the stories about the actual Batiri, you progress on and on into this location. You are going to start to see more and more tracks that kind of seem to be leading in these same ways until eventually you are actually finding a trail that kind of continues on. Most of the tracks are goblinoid. Some of the tracks seem to be humanoid, um, maybe giving off a few kind of weird signs. Let me have you all do like history or arcana if you have the proficiency. Nature, if you've got a nature proficiency, would work too. Rin, what was that you're rolling? What proficiency?
Mine is Arcana.
So in the like humanoid footprints, Darren's going to pick up signs that there's almost like a mold factor to these steps. I think, yeah, that one. Island, you're going to be vaguely understanding that there are veggie pygmies in this area as well. And even moving beyond, as you all kind of continue up, you're soon going to start to see amphibious prints as well that seem to be almost frog like. And the two of you as well will be able to kind of pick up that these seem to be grungs. So by this point, yeah, by this point, you would be able to start to identify that along these trails that lead in the direction that you all have worn, you are expecting the possibility of seeing frog folk, grungs, um, kind of like a almost like mold kind of being, the veggie pygmies. And then you are also expecting to see goblinoids. And yeah, I think a 14 would be enough that you would understand as well those three different kind of species as well.
So we'll like relay that to everybody.
what is everybody thinking as you are making it to this trail?
Darren is wondering if he knows about frog folk and asks the group if, like, are they like friendlier than goblins? Are they hostile?
In general, I think most of you would have an understanding that none of these species are necessarily friends between each other. So there's already a certain level of this doesn't really make sense on that order. As you all kind of pick up the different things, you have a vague understanding that none of them are like, say, as warlike as orc. They're definitely not as threatening as undead, and they're certainly not as voracious eaters as dinosaurs. But they all are intelligent enough species that they will defend themselves. And again, in general, they won't work together. So that's like probably the strangest thing. But you have a vague understanding that like the veggie pygmies are most likely to try to hide themselves off and avoid contact with you. The grungs may be the most likely to fight you for encroaching on their land. And the goblins are probably the most likely to fuck with you.
So we need to be cautious on this trail.
Well, if we can make contact without things escalating, if they know this area, perhaps they might know something about this horn.
That's a good point. We should be prepared to. What do we have to trade that we're prepared to let go of?
I think we shouldn't give anything away. I think we should just try to intimidate our way through.
Well, we've had pretty good luck with buying our way through pretty cheaply.
Yes, but the idea of handing over anything to those creatures is it's a bit vile to me. I don't really like the idea. And the fact that they're storing people as they go by is kind of wrong as well. I say we just deal with them and take their things and move on.
Island looks at Jarek and Karen and
When Island is thinking about being cautious on the trail, what do you have in mind?
not being stealthy, but being quiet and keeping an eye around us and in front of us. Try not to be surprised because we're
Kind
fully
of sounds like
expecting
being
to be.
stealthy.
Well,
You're going to
wasn't
move
thinking.
slower so you can be quiet?
Yes, wasn't thinking about making stealth rolls, but I'm open for that. But anyway, I think we should be a little more careful than we've been because we're approaching somebody's territory, and not everybody likes it when the neighbors barge into their living room and demand stuff.
Yeah. I think now I'll speak up. Well, don't ask me to be stealthy. It's just not something I'm really good at.
So, at present, what kind of marching order do you all feel like you are moving along with?
I assume there are roles for survival. Kind of put those people in the front. So Darren.
Yeah, I'd say so. More likely, those four of you are probably the front four.
Yeah.
Darren doesn't mind taking point and being just a little bit ahead to be kind of a lookout situation too.
Yeah, I think Jarek would be at the part of the front line, as it were.
Ren would stick towards the middle of the group.
Taryn, how much beer do we have?
How much beer do we have? I mean, it's how much do we want?
All right, good. Well, that's something we could trade.
From the vantage point looking down, I guess into their camp, like how many goblinoids like could I see, or how many could we guess that there were?
Oh, right now you all are still like on the trail, kind of following your way into this location where Vorn is like marked on your map. So it's more that you guys are starting to recognize that there is civilization, albeit these three relatively like different species. Um, you guys aren't actually like at a camp or anything at present.
Okay.
Can we get a sense of numbers from what we're seeing on the trail? Is it ones and twos, or is it 50 goblins marching?
I would say overall, it's more that there's enough footprints that you guys are able to spot that this is like a jungle highway. How much traffic it gets, I don't think you have a solid understanding. It could be that this highway was created yesterday, and 100, goblins, pygmies, and brungs used it. It could be that this highway was created years ago, and maybe two of them walk on it every day. Um, that's kind of like the overall. You are able to pick up that there are different footprints, but that this is a well-used trail that you all are now at.
All right. Well, so we're trying to be thoughtfully quiet as we move along.
Yeah, and Taryn will be taking up the rear.
Being at point, Darren would stealth.
Well, I could try.
So let me have Jarek and Darren roll a perception check. And you all can do it at advantage here. So as you all are kind of pushing forward and the trail is starting to widen up to a point where you can almost go like three of you larger humanoids side by side, like shoulder to shoulder, as the trail's kind of widening up here, over the next like hour or so of progressing forward, the two of you keeping that front position are going to see there's a tripwire here. And as you catch the tripwire, you're going to spot that there's two logs kind of suspended into the trees and basically slowly escort people over this section, catching that first trap. And then shortly after that, about 40 minutes later, you are going to pick up on another trap. This one is actually a pit trap that's been laid over with uh, leaves and like branches to kind of hold up where there is no earth below this section. And you're starting to see more and more signs that this area is being trapped and that you guys are getting this idea. You are getting closer and closer to whatever all of this traffic is leading to. What's everybody kind of thinking as you start to pass these two different points where they're spotting these traps on this trail?
I think Jarek would probably, as we get beyond these traps and sensing that we're getting closer, he would probably suggest perhaps we approach, perhaps we alter our approach with, rather than continue along this path. Perhaps we uh, move off into the jungle if we can and approach that way.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
Does that sound good for everyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think probably also at this point, Jarek would also suggest that they try to move stealthily as they can. Kind of following Darren's lead on that.
Alright,
Darren
I'll
will
do
fix
that.
the location of the path in his mind and kind of take everyone off the road a little bit, probably 60, 100 feet away from the road off the way, and help everybody navigate.
Gotcha. So as you all start to move away from the path here and give yourselves a little bit of a space away from it, let me have the four of you kind of guiding things roll another survival here.
Ignore a second roll.
Darren just like sticks his finger in his mouth and holds it up and feels the wind and is just on top of it. Puts his ear to the ground and looks at the moss on the rocks and stuff.
Island sort of elbows Jarek and points at Darren. He's like, "This seems like it's working out pretty good, actually."
So as you all start to progress forward here, moving a little bit slower, keeping everything a little bit more like purposeful movements, and everybody's kind of getting that like growing sense of you are getting closer and closer to something happening. And as you kind of start to feel your way through the woods, doing everything you can to find those little bits of space between trees and paths so you're not moving things out of the way or having to cut things, trying to find a little bit more of the natural paths of the animals that would go through here. You all keep a pretty solid understanding that you are still running parallel with that path. Eventually, you are going to actually start to see signs of another path that actually starts to get closer and closer to you, where maybe you pick up signs of that path within like 20 feet of you, where you're starting to see those like extra bits of the rays of the sun kind of coming down into, you now know it's a path because there's sun inside of this jungle canopy, that you are almost inside of the spokes of this wheel. They're getting closer and closer to where you go, to where eventually you all are able to stop yourselves about just inside of that, probably like 30 feet or so of the jungle, that you can see ahead of you, and you can see that there is a clearing ahead of you. And as you all kind of pull yourselves to a stop here and kind of look around, at present, you see a clearing. Actually, you know what? Let me get perceptions from everybody. Anybody who has perception as a proficiency can roll with advantage here.
I do.
Darren is going to take a quick second to say, if you guys want to, I can like get up in a tree and see if I can see into there if we don't want to get too close just yet.
That sounds good. We don't want to get too close just yet.
Yeah, Niall will take the tallest tree he can find, and he'll just start walking up it.
Can you describe that for
Yeah.
everybody? Because I feel like this is a site that they need to know.
All
Going
right.
up trees.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little freaky there, buddy. So like, Niall kind of looks around. He's just like, I guess he forgets that like not everybody knows him, and like he just like starts walking, but he's doing it horizontally, like completely, and it's almost like he's like doing like a magic trick, and he's just walking like normally up the tree, and you know he's just it's unnatural, like
So, like, again, when you guys see him step up to the tree, he's going to, like, raise his leg. And the moment he kind of sets his legs onto the tree, gravity is going to, like, pull him towards the tree, kind of like feel. I feel like if you've got cloaks, they're still going to sink down, but it's going to look like his body is being, like, gravity is facing the tree as he takes that step.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just going to walk up it normally.
Great red eyes, obsessed with blood, walks on walls. Island's taking notes.
What could they be?
Has a little friend that shows up intermittently.
Yeah, and actually, at this point, when I'm not looking at it, you'll see on his shoulder just like this little mechanical spider, and it's just kind of like it's. If you like look away for a brief second, you'll swear it's moving, but when you look back at it, it won't. It's not moving.
Ren, I actually asked for advantage, so the double roll is actually good there. Darren, can you roll one more perception check for me? Oh wait, my bad. I asked for advantage if you have perception. So that's actually my psych out there. Does Rin have perception as a proficiency?
Yes.
And does Darren have perception as a proficiency?
Yes, he does.
All right, word. So as you all kind of go forward here, I think you are going to have Island, Niall, Taryn, and Rin are going to have a good enough view to actually see into this area. And you're going to see the clearing. Pretty much everybody is going to see that there is some sort of tall, black, like monolithic thing vaguely in the center of the clearing. But those who can actually see into the clearing, you're going to see signs that this is a manicured circle in the jungle. It's not a natural clearing that the jungle doesn't encroach on. You are seeing signs that there's nobody inside of the clearing right now. It's just this black monolith, which you guys can kind of spot is vaguely humanoid shaped. But like this is one of those things where you see the grass is cut, so it's maybe a few inches tall. You see signs that the vines at the edge of the clearing are cut, and like it's all collected and moved to like the sides of the clearing. It's like somebody has brought in a crew to take care of this clearing, and at the center of this clearing, there is a tall black humanoid figure.
Well, I think maybe that's maybe our shield guardian right there, huh?
Do you think they might, I don't know, worship it? Kind of speaking to.
Of course
there-
they do.
Is there anything I can tell about the monolith or anything using my knowledge of religion?
From where you all are at right now, you're still about like 30 feet into the jungle. So you all are still like looking through all of this like material and kind of debris in between you and it. If you all are ready to move closer, Rin can most certainly try to figure out some more things like on a religious level. But at present, you all are just kind of having that first sensation of, again, you're kind of like in the spoke of two of these different, what you kind of understand now as highways. You don't know what travels on the second one, but you already know three races that don't really belong together travel on the one that you all crossed, and you're now between two of these, and you know what their terminus is, and their terminus is this monolith. Those of you who rolled like the 14 or higher, or the 13 or higher, are basically the ones who understand that not only is it just like a monolith in the center, but it's an actual humanoid.
And can we see any, like, Island wants to look for guards, Are there any guards or any people, any humanoids? Or is
Again,
this
at
an
present,
abandoned
you
clearing?
don't see anything inside of there. You see
Okay.
the monolith. You see signs that it seems to be like an upkept. I want to just kind of describe it as like this is somebody's lawn almost. Like somebody is sending in a like lawn care crew to take care of this area of the jungle.
Probably not goblins.
I think Niall will kind of like passively think to himself, he's like, maybe that's some sort of magic circle. Maybe is it like syringical? Like is it like a perfect circle, or is it more like mishmashed? Like
I think from your view, 100%, you might see it a little bit more oval. I don't think it is outside of your understanding to recognize that the perspective is what's making it seem ovaloid. This is almost a perfect circle.
okay. Like I'm not proficient with Arcana, but I figured just my age and experience, I might be able to recognize at least vaguely what, like, or at least think to myself that it might be like some sort of magical circle or something.
Yeah, I don't think from this distance there's a whole lot that you would pick up any sort of like recognition on an Arcana level.
Yeah.
The Arcana would much be like if you're thinking about that, I think it's perfectly viable that Niall's thinking along those lines, but
Hmm.
that's much more like come down from the tree and start to approach. But when you get close to the circle, try to actually look for like you understand that when mages try to protect things with the circle, like a magical circle, you might be able to find ruins and actual basically those enchantments left. So that might be where Niall is like that's perfectly viable for your character to think about,
Yeah,
but actually doing the check right now, you have to kind of get closer.
yeah, that's fair.
To do that. Same as kind of with the religion check, where you almost need to be closer to start to bring in that information than where you all are. But at present, you all have 4 people who can kind of confirm there doesn't appear to be anything inside of this other than your target, which is a shield guardian who has been here for, from what you understand from Artis, quite some time.
Well, I think nothing now kind of run down the tree. Also, probably looks really funny, and just get to the ground. He'll relay his theory, at least his hunch, maybe to the group. He'll say, yeah, I'm not too sure where or not it is magic or not, but it might be. I can't tell from this distance. And I think we should go and investigate it. Now there is a humanoid, I think, in the center, so they may become hostile. So we gotta think about that as well. I'm also surprised none of you got questions of how I can walk up a tree, but that's all right.
Oh, I can tell you, Taryn has questions. He's just looking at you funnily right now. He's just going, "Yeah, I better ask him that later." Right now.
Aaron's got his little notepad. Things to ask Niall about.
Why is he so pasty in the jungle?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to shake hands with him earlier, you would have noticed he's very cold, and that shouldn't be in the middle of the heat. But anyway, what's the plan? What do you think we should do? Should we approach? Should we stealth?
How far are we exactly from it?
You're probably about like 30 feet, depending how far like Rin is like back from the other people who are like moving closest. At some point, Darren and Derek probably stopped everybody vaguely, like in that 30-foot from the edge of the clearing. Inside of the clearing, let's say it's about like 50 or so feet to the actual structure. So right now you're about 80 feet away from the monolithic humanoid.
Well,
Thank you.
if we don't want to get too close, I could send my echo in. Now, it's not technically alive, as far as I can tell from my scrolls. But if it's physically trapped, it might set it off, and my echo can be replaced. I don't think any of you can.
Darren asks the group, should we like throw a rock at it, or like should I sneak forward? And what do you guys think?
Let's throw Niles' little man at it.
Yeah, it's basically a rock. Yeah. So I'm gonna go up probably like 5 feet to it. I don't want to get too close, just in case
You
it's.
got 1,000 feet when you do this.
No, I can't actually. That's a level 7 ability.
Okay. So you've got 30 feet. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
So I'll just direct it to go. Start walking into the circle and see if anything happens.
How far are you starting off? Just a little bit closer to them, and you want to cross the circle first? Is that what you mean?
I'm gonna be probably 5 feet out from the edge, so I'm not like at the edge of the circle. So in terms
So
of,
then, do you think you're casting your? I say casting, but do you think you're raising your echo about 10 feet inside, or are you doing it?
I'm gonna have it. It's actually already next to me. It's been kind of following me
Okay.
around.
So
I'm just gonna send it in basically.
as you have it walk through, I don't think it has any physical being, so it doesn't have to like avoid leaves or anything. You
No.
just have it walk inside. Yeah, so you're just going to see as and I know you might describe this differently, but this is just my understanding of it. You all are going to see is this like gray form of Nile that is vaguely translucent is just going to start to walk away from him. And as it walks through the edge, you're going to see as the light starts to shine through it and it moves into the circle. And at about 10 feet in, you can have it like look back at you, but basically it's walking away from you at present and nothing happens as it crosses into the circle.
Okay, well, now I'll speak up. So, as I said, it's not alive. It's closer to this rock on the ground than it is to any of us. But I can surmise that it's not physically trapped. Magically, well, that's a little bit out of my repertoire.
Darren looks very suspicious about it all and will stay kind of back while magic users investigate and have a arrow full on ready, just in case.
I know you had talked about climbing trees earlier. Is Darren taking kind of like a sniper position in a tree?
Nearby the group, he will, yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, again, just to kind of like put the jungle itself in perspective, in general, you're going to have to be kind of close to the actual edge there. But if the group is starting to edge forward, you'll probably pick a tree that's near that clearing edge to kind of give yourself that position, is what you're going for.
Are the limbs of the trees wide enough and sturdy enough to support a tiny little gnome leaping back and forth and keeping up top anyway?
I see no reason that, like, maybe not like the actual like peak of a tree, but in general, I see no reason. This is a old growth forest. There are certainly trees at any given time that you are probably looking at like multiple hundreds of years old.
Excellent. Darren will stick to the edge of the clearing and not go in and stay on the tree highway.
So as Niall kind of clears this area for you all, is everybody prepared to start to walk in? Is that the general idea?
Sorry.
So,
No, go ahead.
so Rin would hang back at the edge of the clearing, which I understand to be about 50 feet from the center. So all of this is going to take place within that 50 feet for you guys to kind of see if there's any immediate threat. If there's any use, I could cast detect magic, I think, and see if there is any magic at work.
That seems incredibly useful. Go for it.
Yeah, Jarek would agree. He when if she offers, yeah, he would say that, probably a good idea.
So, Darcy, Rin would know that you can either expend a spell slot and cast Detect Magic and just boom, you've got it. Or you can ask them, like, do you all want to start? And I can be prepared for this soon. And you can ritually cast it over the next 10 minutes. Do you have a thought there on what Rin would be doing here? Are you just ready to have Detect Magic and go?
If there was no present danger, I would ask the group that.
So what are you all thinking? Do you want to wait for Rin to start to prepare this spell, or would you like to ask her to be to cast it right away so you have this? But at present, you all have the shadow of Nile kind of standing inside of this area. There doesn't seem to be any present danger.
Jarek would be okay with kind of watching the circle, and giving Rin time to cast it ritually.
Island too. Island's going to stand next to Ren, and yeah, I mean, I think there's magic because it's a shield guardian for sure.
So then I guess I move up within the 30-foot range and start doing my ritual thing.
So I feel like it kind of makes sense at this point then that maybe we have Island and Rin at the base of the tree that Darren has climbed up.
Yeah.
And then if everybody else is prepared to move forward, you all can move forward, or you all can just let 10 minutes kind of go by, in which case maybe Niall's bringing his shadow back, so at least you guys are concealed and also spending that time.
Yeah, actually, what Niall will do, because it's a little more stealthy. He's gonna make the echo disappear, and then like 6 seconds or so later, he's gonna make it reappear next to him. So
So as you all go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, Jarek he'd be sticking to the edge. He wouldn't be going in yet.
Yeah, we can all just observe, right?
Yep. You all spend this time kind of like waiting and seeing while Rin prepares this little ritual casting of one of her spells. In the long run, you can describe things like on your own if you would like. Otherwise, at present, do you have an idea of what it looks like when Rin is ritual casting her detection spell?
She turns around from the group and completely conceals what she does.
Gotcha. So as this like bit of time kind of progresses, you see as she's kind of hiding off what she's trying to do, making it a very secretive experience. But as you all kind of sit back, watching forward and keeping an eye, there doesn't seem to be any movement inside. The more everybody kind of takes this time to observe forward, you see signs that there are what seems to be gifts left at the feet of this humanoid construct. It's probably about 8 feet tall, and there's a bunch of things left at its feet. And the more time you kind of spend, the more, yeah, it seems like you all might be at like some sort of very primitive shrine. And eventually you are going to finish casting the actual detect magic spell. You are finishing casting the detect magic. You all are gathered about the edge of this clearing and preparing to head on inside. And as you all are ready to move in, who's going to lead you all into the circle?
Niall will step up. I'll take the lead. I think I can. I'll take the lead. He kind of says a little reluctantly, but he'll take the lead.
Jarek will kind of nod, and he'll stay just a bit behind them, be like about 5 feet behind Niall, and maybe suggest like Rin keep near the front so that she can be, if there is any sort of magic that her spell picks up, it'll kind of be in range of. Well, Jarek does. Actually, I shouldn't say Jarek doesn't know how spells work. So
what you'll see, like Niall will start walking in, but he's going to leave his echo behind because if anything bad happens, he's just going to swap places with it. He's going to start walking in.
So
Bingo.
you have, what were you thinking there?
That Rin followed behind Niall.
Gotcha. So if we have basically Niall, Yarrick, and Rin kind of at the front, and the others kind of following behind, we still have Darren back up in the tree. Is Island still remaining behind, or are you going to push forward as the group kind of walks into the circle?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay right at the edge of the woods.
And then I think Taryn would be the last one. Are you going to go with the 3, or are you going to stay back with the 2?
Taryn is gonna go with the 3. He's very interested in what's going on.
So as you start to move forward, I think among the things that Rin is going to notice is I am pretty sure Taryn is the only person who is carrying anything magical right now. And you will notice that there is a enchantment aura coming from Taryn, as well as I can't actually think what kind of aura they would cast. But to let's just go for enchantment at this point. He's got like 3 separate auras coming from him. 2 of them are in his backpack. And where is the jug at this point? Taryn, backpack as well?
Yeah, the jug would be in his backpack.
All right. So, yeah, so you're going to notice those 3 different auras. I feel like for what it's worth, a level 4 adventure, you don't have a memory. So yeah, you're not going to necessarily pick up what like the 2 weaker auras are. I don't think anybody else is carrying magic. So as you're kind of walking away, those are the auras that are kind of around you. And you can see those 2 different things. One very large, powerful object, and then 2 kind of smaller auras in a pretty similar space there. And you all.
Sorry, go ahead.
So as you all kind of progress forward, walking into this clearing, you're going to see more and more signs of the detail of this figure. Over time, it's picked up this kind of like black patina as the jungle has just kind of like turned its metal into this just kind of weird oxidization. Man, that's not coming out right. And you kind of see like their black metal that creates the actual like torso of this figure is different than what creates the fists, and then it otherwise has a pretty like uniform kind of body, but the fists as you get closer and closer are like a pretty clean kind of very clearly kind of copper, and eventually getting close enough to the figure, I think you're going to see that it also has a I feel like I might just be leaning too hard on enchantment, but I think another enchantment aura. And this thing is most certainly magical. As you all get closer to the actual things around it, you're going to see plenty of signs of food, some very crudely carved figurines. There's a lot of things scattered about the base of this, and to anybody who's ever been to a religious altar, you will 100% see that there is some sort of religious significance to this thing.
So can I do my religion check now?
Yeah, you can definitely start to look closer and try to figure out what you can see. What are you looking for? Like, what do you want when you want to look over it for like religious significance?
What they do here? What type of people worship it? The alignment of the god? Really?
So yeah, you can do the religious check. So kind of looking over this, you don't see any signs of any typical religion. This is not a deity that you have ever seen inside of a pantheon of the Sword Coast. This seems to be very primitive species. As you understand, they've already told you that they've seen signs of grungs, veggie pygmies, and goblins coming to this area. And you are seeing effectively these like aboriginal creatures that are taking something beyond their knowledge and they are rising it up into a deified position. But effectively, what you are at is a shrine of a lesser deity. And that deity, as you understand from Island and the other the other two adventures that you met the night before, this deity is the Shield Guardian Vorn.
So as we're getting closer, Jarek is kind of looking at the food. Does he see any sort of like food that seems fresh, like it may have been left there recently?
Roll an investigation. I think you're able to spot food that is certainly perishable and it's not entirely rotten. Whether you can tell that these species would have left it today or 5 days ago is kind of hard for you to necessarily pick up.
Okay.
I assume you're trying to think like, is there danger that they're leaving food regularly and we should expect them to come today?
Yeah, that was kind of the thought. Like if he saw like there was, yeah, essentially, yeah.
I think you would see some level of things in many levels of decay. So it wouldn't be surprising if you met somebody today.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense too with the tracks that we've seen. They presumably kind of could tell that they were fairly recent, or maybe we couldn't. I don't know. I can't remember. Sorry.
You can't see enough detail though where you're like, okay, this is a divorced couple and the grungs have Monday and Tuesday, or Monday and Wednesday, the goblins have this day. There's not enough information for you to kind of break that down. You do see signs that this is regularly visited though.
Got it. Yep.
I think Niall starts smelling the air. I think someone's recently pissed on that rock over there. But other than that, I can't tell anything else. We should maybe go up to the statue and see if there's anything hidden, or you know.
Yeah, at
Some,
present, you guys are essentially at the statue. Unless you specifically wanted to not get like too close, you're effectively at the statue right now.
oh well, life's all risks. No, I was gonna go up and touch the statue.
You can touch it, and I mean, it's like I feel like metal always will feel cold to the touch. I'm not entirely sure if you lose a sensation of being
No.
able to feel heat, but I feel like when you touch it, like it's a little bit colder than the ambient simply because it's metallic. Um, but as far as things go, again, it's a black statue in the center of a clearing, so it's probably like 120 degrees and maybe a little bit lower than that.
Could I like try to feel around or look for like a hidden compartment or some sort of hidden like it's like something where someone would hide something like a treasure or something like that.
You can roll an investigation.
I'm not proficient, but I can try.
The other people who are close right now are Taryn, Rin, and what are you two kind of thinking is your
Oh,
is?
natural 20. 21.
Word, and you said, do you just have like a nil for investigation?
Oh, I
What's the
rolled.
plus there?
I rolled intimidation. That.
That's fine. We'll still take the 20, but what's the actual plus?
Uh, no, there's no plus for investigation. It's actually a -1, so that'd be a 19.
Gotcha. So as you're kind of like looking over the creature itself, there's certainly places on it where you would kind of expect to see something that you could like rotate out. Like a different part of this armor is hinged at the bottom, and you can see that it should be able to hinge down, opening up the chest so you can do what might seem like maintenance. And when you go to kind of manipulate it, locked in place. Nothing budges in the least bit. There's no visible locking mechanism. You just see the hinges, and there's nothing that you can do. And you kind of spot different points on the armor where the plating seems to be created in a way that the creator can access it. But whatever is locking this thing in place, it doesn't seem to be manipulable. And you kind of go over it and see multiple different points like that. Among the things that might be a little bit on the more interesting side is that you do see a point where there is a clear like inset into the chest of this creature that seems to be basically missing. And you have heard it described that there is some sort of control amulet for you to take over control of this creature. And as you kind of approach it, you can see that it seems to be this circular, probably about like 3.5 inch piece that almost looks like a gyroscope, kind of like offset with like kind of like a circle, and then like a second like arc that kind of arcs between like say like a northwestern or a northeastern and a southwestern point on that circle. Other than this little bit, everything looks sealed up besides like the hinges, like a noticeable ability to manipulate the armor, just you are not able to manipulate it.
Right. And there's no way I could like jam something in there and brute force it.
You could certainly try.
I'm gonna try to brute force it open.
Taryn, Rin, what are the two of you doing?
Would that be a strength or?
So
Just hold on one moment to actually brute force it. Rin, Taryn?
So I explained to the group what I learned. And I'm looking through my spell book for something for locks, but I don't think I have one.
Gotcha. What's Taryn up to right now?
Taryn would be snooping around like the immediate area of the of Vorn to see. We know that they had left offerings to Vorn to pray for, as his deity, but I was gonna want to see if there's like any other side shrines or anything else where they might set up offerings.
So just kind of looking about, you can do a perception there. Um, so Eileen and Darren, you are kind of seeing these folks in front of you as they are getting close to this object. You're seeing Niall kind of like going through the different parts of its armor. You're seeing Yarek kind of like getting closer to the food to kind of figure out what's going on with some of these more perishable objects around it, and seeing him kind of like making those circles. Taryn is kind of looking around to see what else is like in this clearing. Um, while I speak to Taryn, I'd like you two to kind of think about what your characters are thinking. But at present, Taryn, looking around this clearing, you have a pretty good sense that you are in the center of it. But other than that, no. Everything inside of this clearing is either like a null space where it feels like the jungle is absent, or it is at the feet of this creature. This creature stands out as very much the center, the reason that this clearing exists. But while now you can do a athletics or a strength check, what is Eileen and what are Darren thinking?
Island's hanging back, keeping an eye out, expecting that some of these other groups are going to show up. So I'm just trying to keep really aware of what's going on around while everybody's investigating. And I kind of I don't want to leave Darren.
Darren does want to let Island know that he wants to kind of go around the perimeter of the monolith if he's comfortable hanging back there, or if he'd like to go along. But Darren kind of has a mind to stealth away and go kind of get a count of how many roads lead out from the center of this clearing, and to, if we're waiting 10 minutes to perceive, and he's just kind of keeping an eye on the group, but mostly trying to investigate more about the surroundings.
You gonna do that like branch to branch from up in the tree?
Yeah, all stealth and on the tree limbs.
All right, yeah, I can't do that. So you go ahead. I'll stay right here.
And Darren does a really cool move where he just kind of falls backward and disappears from sight.
Island's definitely impressed. I think that's what we got, Mara.
When you are up there, are you just, I feel like you're just hoping that you are dexterous enough?
I mean, I've jumped from a thing or two in my life.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna need you can do acrobatics checks. Kind of going from tree to tree. You can probably get about 40 or so feet
I
on
will
one
say,
limb.
sorry, I'm not being too risky with it. I do still have my bow drawn with the arrow like practically knocked, so like it's hopping from and trying to maintain my balance.
Yeah. I don't think it's especially dangerous for you, but it is something that you have the ability to fall while you are doing this.
For sure. Oop.
Not that bad of an ability. You are an adventurer. So yeah, you can start to like make a direction. If you all were coming from the south, do you want to go west or do you want to go east?
I will go west.
Gotcha. So you can start to close off on that west side and kind of start to move around this edge of this circle, and starting to do like a first little bit of the perimeter check. You can gain a little bit of a sight from within the actual circle. You can probably already spot that there's 3 other entrances like on the opposite side from your other view. So at present, you understand that there's probably about 5 entrances. Taking a few moments, you see a 6th as you kind of cross around, but they're all sporadic. they're not like a set distance apart from each other. Some of them come in almost feet apart. Some of them are like 40 feet apart around the actual circumference of this circle, but that there are many of them. And that's kind of what you're gathering on that like initial little movement around. I don't know if you're going to want to continue running around the circle, but that is an option that we'll kind of get to here. But at present, is Island moving in as you understand that Darren is about to start running across the trees?
No, I'm staying put. Keeping an eye, keeping on watching out for everybody.
All right. Nio, you can still do that athletics as you try to pry this thing open. But otherwise, the other three of you who are up there, what are you all thinking?
I have a crowbar in my backpack. Would that give me advantage, or would it just not?
It most certainly will.
Okay.
So Jarek would also, after he's done looking at the food, he would maybe want to take a look at a couple of the kind of the figurines, and do they seem to be carvings of the same thing? Do they seem to be different? Are like they carved in the likeness of the construct, or are they maybe creatures, or is he able to tell anything from taking a look at those?
Feel like that could be a history, arcana, or just straight wisdom. I guess maybe insight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're all the same for me, so.
Well, you've got insight though as a.
Oh, yeah, insight I do. The others I don't. But
So what is that? +2, 22?
+2, yeah.
I think you can pick up subtle differences in not just like the artistic talent of those who are creating it, but to kind of give you that sense that like this is like different cultural creations, but they are all effectively of Vorn, as you will come to recognize at this point. And I think that's going to give you a further understanding that perhaps this clearing is a neutral zone, that these creatures don't go to war on this holy ground of the deity Vorn.
Okay, and in terms of the materials, are they pretty much all wood? Are there some of like stone or?
Yeah, for what it's worth, some of those are going to be like um, scrimshaw from like dinosaurs. Some of them are from wood. Some of them will be from like greenwood. In the long run, I don't think there's a big difference between. It's a lot of different creatures just doing what they can to kind of make their god happy.
Okay, so I would relay kind of my suspicions about maybe this being a neutral zone to the others nearby.
So, Naya, as you start to like really lean into this crowbar, you're putting a lot of strength through this thing. There's nothing budging. This thing isn't just like going to pop open. It's giving you a pretty solid sense that the magic that creates this thing is possibly protecting this thing.
Maybe we need to find that amulet to have any chance of getting that thing open.
Did you say I was unsuccessful?
Indeed.
Well, I tried. Does anybody have the ambush on them? Probably should ask that first.
And we're hoping we might find it nearby, but we haven't come across it yet.
That's unfortunate. Well, maybe if we can get one of those groups of goblinoids or something to come by, we can either pay them or like extort them, or maybe they get it.
Or I would imagine perhaps the amulet may be magical, so I don't know how long your turning to sorry, had to cough. Turning to rinse, like I don't know how long your magic lasts, but perhaps perhaps that would be one way we could maybe able to locate it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I am vaguely familiar with there may be some magics that could help us with this. Like I said, I'm not really one to use magic very often, or ever. But I have had a few run-ins with wizards. What's the spell? Locate object. I think that might be a spell. I was kind of like thinking.
Yeah. Do you have to have familiarity with the object for that? I can't remember.
I'm not too sure. All I remember is the name and the fact that the wizard couldn't hold his drink, and anyway, it's a whole story. But the point is, I am, it's possible. Like again, do we have someone that's a little more knowledgeable than I am?
I know of it. It's not in my spell book.
And I don't think we had learned anything about where the amulet, like specifically where the amulet might be, like if it had been taken. I think we were, if I recall correctly, we were kind of hoping it's nearby.
Roll a history check from wait. I feel like Island and Jarek. You remember that part of what Wakanda Tamu was sending you on is that the location of Vorin was not a secret. He knew exactly where Vorin was. That's why you all have that on the map. Finding the control amulet is the entire quest. That creature is magically here until that control amulet is returned to it, and whoever has the control amulet when they return it, that creature will become effectively your shield guardian.
Well then,
So the one place we know it isn't is right here.
That is correct.
Hmm.
But you know what it looks like now. You guys know what you're looking for.
I say we ambush a group of maybe go. I keep saying kobolds now. Got goblin, whatever they're called, small creatures which are incredibly ugly, and we get the information out of them. Maybe they know, maybe they don't, and go from there.
I like the idea of interrogating goblins.
Yeah, but maybe
Can
we could do
I
this.
can I find a scroll around here to learn a new spell?
I feel like in the heat of the jungle, any scrolls left out would just get obliterated.
All right, that's fair.
I can totally see like a bunch of goblins like giving like the statue a scroll, and then just like a couple days later, scrolls just like mush. But we should well, that's my thoughts. I mean, I'm not the leader.
Taryn is gonna pipe up and maybe we could do it a bit friendlier than ambushing and interrogating. They have shown that they are able to be traded with.
But I feel like the control crystal for their god is something they wouldn't just give up, even for gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but would they even know it's the controlled amulet?
But,
Taryn, roll a intelligence with advantage.
I am smart.
Never ask for a roll when you don't want somebody to fail it.
And you had said there was like what looked like a patina on the thing, right? Would we know that maybe suggests it hasn't moved in a while?
For what it's worth, I feel like that should have been a no-fail roll. If somebody knew that they had the control amulet for Vorn wouldn't be here.
Yeah, they'd be using it.
When that control amulet is brought to Vorn will become your shield guardian. It will follow you everywhere you go and do everything that you do.
But don't you think the leader of the goblins and the frog people and the veggie pygmies has been here? So if they had the object, it would have triggered Vorn.
But they have to place it in its chest.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe they're not smart enough to know that.
Let's go see what
guys
kind of
already know that
weird
you can
jewelry they're
negotiate.
wearing.
You guys already know that you can negotiate with these creatures and pull one over on them. And it's a win-win situation. They don't know that they're losing. And as far as they know, they don't know that you're losing.
Well, we could try to talk to them. Go ahead.
Can anyone in the party change the way they look or disguise themselves to look like a goblin?
No, but I can attempt to charm them with my good looks and all-around ageless beauty.
Their big red eyeballs.
So could I try to disguise myself as a goblin? And since I speak goblin, go hang out with the goblins with you guys close, maybe with the charmed one close, the charmer close. Like if you're like extra charming.
You could tell in Niles, he's somewhat. He definitely thinks of himself, but he's certainly not extra charming. He just thinks he is.
Sci-fi is never going to trick something into thinking you're a goblin.
That was my next question. How tall is a goblin?
They're like feet tall, like 2.5, 3 feet tall. But like you can speak to them in Goblin. That is a great start for actually approaching goblins with the conversation. And again, part of what I was getting at with a lot of things, like Eku is with this party as long as you guys don't go murdering people who don't deserve to be killed. If something attacks you, you guys have a pretty solid sense that she is perfectly fine with you defending yourselves. But when you all talk about actually going somewhere and explicitly trying to kill especially intelligent creatures, like that's not something she kind of like works with.
Yeah, I feel like that's on us. We didn't actually. I don't think we actually mentioned that as part of our like recap. So
we sort of tend to forget that detail a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, you tried to kill the commander of the Order of the Gauntlet, and she's like, "Yeah, I gotta go, guys."
I didn't want to kill him. I just was pissed at him. So
yeah. You talked about murdering him.
Yeah, like behind his back, not to his face.
I think that I didn't mean that I would go in and wreak havoc. I think I'm pretty squishy, right?
No, I'm not saying for you. I think Rin has a good idea that you might be the person, depending on if others have Goblinoid, which I don't see in my cheat sheet, but again, I don't have Niall or Darren in there as well. But just offhand, like approaching with Goblin, like knowing Goblinoid is a really good start to actually negotiating this. And again, the other 3 characters have already dealt with the Batiri, where they know that like, I feel like the goblins asked you for gold and you all gave them like 10 copper. They like asked for like a gold and you guys are like, hey, we've got 5 copper here. Like, how about this? There's 5 of those instead of 1 of these.
Yeah.
What do goblins worship?
Vorn.
Can I take the form of something they worship?
I feel like you did pretty good on your religion check before, right?
Yep.
I think you would be relatively familiar enough to recognize that Meglubiet, I'm definitely going to butcher that name, is one deity that goblins worship. And it is kind of like a very chaotic god who is pretty well like kind of a representative of a goblin, and almost like accidentally created the goblin species. And they often have kind of a jester like character that is a much closer, like near and present deity, which is a Nilbog. And they are a kind of earthly, actually, shit, you would not know the name of Maglubiet. You would understand the archetype. Um, and it's through the Nilbog that's even known, because they are effectively a nameless kind of cleric creation. When goblins do something crazy, Maglubiet will often create a Nilbog, which is a representation of the god here on Aber, and they are just like fonts of magical power. And that's kind of like the closest goblins get to an actual deity. And that's part of where Vorn is like an interesting aspect, because normally goblins don't have any fucks to give about anything.
Okay. And was that my inner monologue speaking to the group, or can I relay that information to the group?
Yeah, in general, like if I'm sharing something in a public chat, it is perfectly acceptable to assume that you then relay it to anybody. The big thing is always, if you would like to hold something back, you can basically tell people, like, you shouldn't actually know this aspect because I'm not telling you that part.
Understood.
Island gets excited about something you said. Like, can you take the shape of other things, Ren?
I can. I
Can you
have
take the shape of?
to an
Can you take
extent.
Can you take the shape of Vorn?
Probably a shorter version of Vorn. I'm 5 feet tall, and so I think I can variant up to a foot. So a 6 foot tall Vorn.
Like a mini Vorn. Nice. That's exciting. And a mini Vorn who could speak Goblin.
A mini Vorn that can speak Goblin.
I think we have a plan.
Oh hell, Vorn, come this way. This will be fun. Let me be the
Is
Goblin.
it the disguise self? Is
It
that
is.
the one that?
It is disguise self.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that gives you a foot to kind of play with. So you could be 6 feet tall, and Vorn is about 8 feet, so he's about 3 feet taller than you.
Maybe we could obscure my feet, and I could stand on something. You got some high heels in your adventure pack.
Goblins are going to be looking up to you regardless. They
Not
may
that
not
I know I
recognize
can
that.
stand on.
He's tall is tall. So
Well, can we tell which direction the goblins are from where we are? Like we might have to
Only you all met
circumnavigate.
some druids who told you all where a lot of goblins are.
Well, they did tell us that they were generally to the southeast of where we are.
To the southeast?
Wasn't it the northeast?
I think they were to the southeast of where we were when we met them, but now they would be to the northeast,
Northeast.
I think, right?
Yeah, we have
But
it's
maybe
marked on our map. It's marked on the
we
map.
maybe we can also look at some of the kind of the other trails moving out and see if one of them has more goblinoid tracks than the others. That might give us a sense of, you know, a direction we could go that would make it more likely we'll come across some.
So as Jarek kind of sends everybody to fan out, let me get a survival check from the 4 with survival. And then if the other 2 have nature, you all can do a nature check.
well, so just as part of it, while they're all discussing this, Darren kind of would have already been halfway investigating the paths for exactly that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to roll twice.
I don't have proficiency in nature or survival.
Gotcha. At present, then you just won't even have a roll on that one.
You can practice your Vorn accent.
I feel like I have to come in with some fanfare.
And you have to explain the rest of
Maybe
us.
banging a stick on a on a piece of metal.
Alrighty, so as you all are kind of looking around this area, you are picking up that most of the actual foot traffic is indeed goblin. Most of these little highways are almost predominantly goblin, with very little signs of seeing the other creatures coming this way, which tells you, again, there's mostly Batiri in this area. Darren would certainly recognize that most of the entrances are on the northern side of this area, and between Yarrick and Darren, you all can pick up that there is a singular entrance that is the biggest one and seems to have the most foot traffic, and it seems again to be goblinoid heading off to the northeast. And I think that should be enough that you all recognize that if there's a big population center, you're probably looking for it where you all have been told by the druids to search for the Batiri. And again, like that's not a marked spot that like this is where their camp is. They warned you like that whole location approaching where you all met them and to where Vorn was a Batiri center. So it's more like looking at like that as where you need to be worried. That's like a goblin hotspot.
And so I guess given what Jarek and Darren and the others are able to piece together, Jarek would suggest we take that larger northeastern trail if we're going to try and find some Batiri to converse with.
Do we want to travel alongside the road again, avoiding traps and such, or just carry on the trail? What do you guys think?
Maybe giving the trail a bit of a berth is probably a smart idea. Yeah.
Well, Darren will do what he can to help situate that.
Sounds like a plan to me.
What time of day is it about this time that we've all wrapped up looking at the statue?
Y'all are like approaching like late afternoonish here.
Island wants to just make a sketch of the of Vorn on a piece of paper before we leave, so we have a drawing. And like update his maps, but I like the idea of going northeast and seeing our friends, the goblins. Is there a shape to the amulet receptacle?
It is a circle with a arc between a northeastern point and a southwestern point.
So can I make a rubbing of that?
Most certainly.
Great. Okay, I'm ready. Didn't mean to hold you up.
Yeah, Jarek's ready to head out as well.
I don't know why it forces that picture to be big or to be downloaded. So you all can push off and keep this location to your side. Let's get a round of survivals from those of you with survival proficiency. So you all can push off into the distance, and as you travel for the next few hours of light, you keep signs of this kind of like main location where the goblins seem to be coming in from this direction. There are kind of constant offshoots from the actual trail that seem to kind of spiderweb out like a tree, leading off to its branches, as the goblins seem to be uh, a lot of different kind of like smaller locations, until eventually by nighttime you stop actually seeing signs of the trail itself, and it seems to be more kind of open ground. While you all are kind of splitting, seeing these splits come off, are you thinking about following any particular splits, or do you think you're going to kind of constantly follow that main like trunk part of the trail?
Darren offers that he's more in favor of sticking to the main trail.
Jarek would second that.
And Island asks, "Cause you guys want to find the most number of goblins all at once, or?"
Yeah, so I think, well, yes, I think we should go to a big mob of them, and I should ask where my amulet is.
All right, great.
Yeah, are you guys in for it? It doesn't have to be smart, right? They're not smart.
They're not as smart as you.
But what if they, but what if they don't know where this amulet is, and we only have 1 hour?
Well, then we make them. Then we make them open. Like, I don't know.
I feel like it could go awry if you show up as their god, and then you need like just an hour to like tie it up. Like,
Yeah.
what if they don't have the amulet and they take me away on their shoulders?
Well, we take all their valuables and then we leave.
I just can't stop thinking of C-3PO and the Ewoks in this situation.
It's all going to work out great.
But I don't know that we could take them all, even if we have them all in one spot.
Well, no, we don't hurt. We don't hurt them because that's not right. But we just take all our stuff and be like, "All right, your god says thank you," and then just leave.
Oh gosh,
So
I
are
got
you
some
guys
godly
going to-
things to do. Gotta go. My fish sticks are in the oven. I gotta go.
Are you guys gonna like pickpocket them while I give an amazing speech about goblin rights?
No. No, as your god, you demand tribute, and you demand all their stuff if they don't have the element.
Okay. Yes. All right. I like this plan. But yes, we need to find the biggest congregation, I think, of goblins that we can.
So the main
Gotcha.
goblin encampment. Okay.
So yeah, I think you all are going to kind of follow this area off until a point where eventually the trails kind of cease to really be happening. You've crossed some of these larger areas. There seems to still be signs of the goblins moving in that same general area. As far as what you would understand from the druids, you've probably not gone all that far. Let me get insights from people who have insight proficiency. So, kind of, Rin, you should have it as well. So, I think is like the group kind of like moves forward. Rin's going to see signs of like how things are kind of breaking off. That you're actually picking up little bits that are kind of showing you perhaps, and I would also kind of say here, this almost comes to you as like you feel like you could be remembering stuff. You said like amnesia is part of like where you're coming from, having kind of lost a bit of yourself almost. You don't quite know whether you're picking up things like subtle details or whether you're picking up on things that you've already known. But you're
Can I clarify my amnesia to overboard rules, where I remember things like languages and what I've done, but not necessarily my backstory and who I am.
Gotcha, personal things. I got you. So yeah, you have like that recollection, or at least like almost a Island might be a little bit jealous of your cultural understanding of what you know about these Batiri and how they're separating. But it's coming clearer and clearer to you that the Batiri don't live in Chalt as like a unified goblin uh, culture. They are small little groups of goblins who live under a matriarch. And there's essentially a point where a matriarch is no longer able to control her whole clan, and you have part of those goblins separate off. And they're not necessarily hostile with each other so much as they're also not inclined to always save each other. So they have almost like subtle little wars between each other. They're never going to try to like eradicate one another, but you're kind of seeing these signs that the fact that it's like dissipating is more the goblins are getting far enough away from Vorn where that holy aspect of that location is starting to dwindle enough that they're all like, look, I'm going to walk over here, and like 5 feet away there's another small trail for another clan to use. um and that's kind of what I mean. You guys are getting into like the veins of how these goblins leave. And you're still kind of pushing on where you have like a center of a lot of these are here when night is going to fall. So you all are still kind of following effectively like an artery leaving that location of Vorn. It's now just like a lot of small trails are heading in that same direction. And it's going to start to get to dark, and you all will have to make that decision. Do you want to continue to push on through the night, or do you want to sit back and try to get some rest?
Well, before we talk about ending our day, Darren wants to kind of ask the groups, like, thinking about it and hearing how the paths are falling away from each other. Like, do we want to try and find a goblin group nearer to Vorn? Do we want to follow it and go to the extremities and find what? Like, should we take one of the offshoots that are here instead of following the main path and picking a further off offshoot?
Depends on our goal. If our goal is to, we don't want to alert anyone of our presence before we surprise them with the coming of with the new coming. We could snatch one and question it and peacefully release it. We could charm one and delightfully ask it questions.
I like that idea. Let's charm one and
pick one off nicely.
yeah, it'll be our friend for like what, a little while, and then he'll know it's been charmed. But for long gone, he won't know who did it, right? I don't think that's how that works, but still.
Yeah, I see Darren's point though. Like if this main trail you said kind of seems to be giving way, maybe we pick an offshoot and see if that will lead us to a group, or
Like there's probably one nearby if they're already splitting off into different clans.
Gotcha. So whoever would like to pick one, roll a D100 for me.
I'd say that's you. Go ahead, Darren.
So you all,
Is that Adam? Okay.
you all can follow this into the night, or you can kind of set up camp and try to wait for the morning. What are you all thinking?
Well, given his experience, Jarek would be hesitant to try to press on too far into the night, but he would, obviously see what the others think. But he would suggest maybe camping and getting a fresh start in the morning.
Darren is ready to take the OG3's lead on what they'd like to do.
Can we don't need the whole party to go snatch a goblin, do we? I mean, can we set up camp and maybe I have a charm person spell, so I could go with Neil, and maybe we could bring back a goblin friend. Is that crazy, or is splitting the party bad?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But if they, if some approach during the night, then that's something to keep in mind.
Fair game.
You think an ambush a couple along the road?
Let's camp next to the road.
Yeah, we could try to set up camp kind of a little ways off, but within view, or something like that.
Darren can do what he can to kind of disguise our campsite if we're going nearby a path, and then offers to take first watch whenever it gets time for that. And we'll keep eyes specifically on the road for comings and goings.
So if you all are looking to set up camp next to the road and try to prepare to ambush any goblins that you might see, that is perfectly acceptable. You have 6 people, which means you can double up 2 sets of the watches. And otherwise you basically need to spend that certain amount of time. I think Rin technically needs to sleep for 4 hours, so you could really do a double on every single watch if you basically have. No, I think 1 watch you have to be 1 person on.
Okay.
Take first 2 watches.
I can take the first 2 watches.
So who else would like to watch on the first watch?
I'll do it. Island will do it.
So
I
Island
think.
and Rin.
I think Darren offered 2 as well for the first.
Oh yeah, Darren.
Wherever works best. Darren's pretty flexible. He doesn't mind.
Who's going to be best to do the watch by themselves? I guess that's really the question. I thought maybe that was Darren.
Might be the stealthiest.
I'm decent at perceiving things. I have good eyes.
Well, Jarrett can offer to help take the second watch.
Well,
So-
Darren's going to go first. I'll go second with you, Jarek.
Wait, I feel like we've got Rin on the first 2 though, because again, Rin
Oh,
only
yeah.
has to sleep for 4 hours.
Ren gets to do 2 watches. Yeah.
So let's start off with, I guess, Darren and Rin rocking perceptions for the first watch.
Right on.
Are you all doing it without light?
Darren has dark vision.
I understand that it's still a question. Are you doing it without light?
Yes. Darren is anyway.
So I need to disadvantage if you're doing it without light.
Yeah, I'm dark vision as well, also at disadvantage.
And I guess
Wait. So wait, are we doing Darren and Niall on the first watch then? Is that what's going on right now?
I think it's Darren and Ren. And you got 2 from Darren.
Yeah, I feel like Niall, you're gonna do a later watch. I mean, those are still perfectly functional for your first watch, but Rin, I need 1 more from you. 1 more perception.
I don't have light. And
Alrighty, so setting up camp here, you all prepare everything, and as they kind of all start to turn in, the two of you can take your watch. While you are on watch, there is, let's see, we are on the waning moon, so there's next to no light here. You all have an ability to see for a little bit into the darkness. You, at this point, are really seeing much more of, you can see like flashes of if something's moving around as everybody's kind of going to bed, but it is very much like black or blacker. And that's kind of what you're sensing here is the moon is little more than a sliver, and again, you're inside of this jungle canopy. Um, Most of what you're doing is kind of sitting back trying to listen and be aware of changes in the jungle itself, as there is kind of a constant little din of small creatures that are like insects and things kind of going about. And overall, keeping a solid watch, listening for goblins, trying to see for any movement on the trails. Nothing really seems to be going on in this area as you all kind of sit back and prepare for the night. As that first kind of hourish goes by, there's not really a sense where you start to like give in to being tired. But when you two are ready, let me get another round of perceptions, again at disadvantage.
I am the night.
While you all kind of sit back for this second part of your watch, Rin's going to give a little bit more way to the actual darkness of night and almost start to fall into her meditation early, keeping yourself like just conscious enough that you hear some signs of what's happening. Darren's doing a far better job keeping awareness over these trails that are kind of all surrounding you all at present. In general, nothing small is moving around you, nothing goblin sized. There is going to be a point where Darren's going to be aware that there's maybe a small dinosaur or a larger lizard that is kind of moving around in this area. There may be a few of them. It's hard to really tell. But at present, when you start to hear the movements of this creature, what are you thinking when there's something that is very clearly a large creature moving around you?
Well, so just out of habit, Darren will ready his bow and get an arrow ready, but try and do that as stealthily as possible so as not to be heard. And it's kind of like the peaceful scene in the middle of Jurassic Park where he's hoping it's like a long neck is going to stick its head out of the treetop and everything. So he's just going to try and gauge as he can hear best he can if it is an aggressive sound on the ground or if it's just something moving through before he would jump down and try and alert the group.
Gotcha. So for now, let me have you roll a stealth check. Yeah, so you're going to kind of pick up signs of what seems like just something in the same area of you. You're not getting any signs that you have something that is like a direct threat to you at present. It is simply kind of moving and approaching where everybody is. At present, still a little bit of a ways off, but it is one of those things where having your bow at the ready, you certainly feel at least a little bit more comfortable there.
So is its walking path like headed directly towards the group, or is it just in that vicinity?
At present, it's going to be vicinity.
All right, Darren will let it be as long as it's staying more than, say, 60 feet distance.
All right, it's definitely not 60 feet different distance.
Oh, it's nearer?
Yeah, 100.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Darren will sneak on down out of the tree, kind of like slide down as fast as he can, and let Rin know, shake her awake out of her meditation, and kind of start trying to rouse everybody that just in case there's a big one.
Gotcha. Roll another stealth for me. And then, Rin, what are you doing as you get kind of roused from your sleep?
I'm trying to gauge how far away do we think this sound is? Or do we think this is, you said well within 60 feet. Is it within 30 feet? Can I tell that?
I'd say
Okay.
so. Part of what I'm trying to get at here, like what Darren already kind of perceived, is these are creatures that you heard from a distance. They would be approaching camp and almost walking past camp. You see them kind of wandering enough that you see like the bits of kind of flashes. And this is again something where I would say, being out in the jungle already, you all should have a vague understanding that there are threats that might come by and kill people if they are directly in front of that threat. There are threats that might come by and see you and walk away. There's a lot of different ways that a dinosaur might come across your camp and move on. Not all of them are hostile, not all of them are passive. And it's kind of up to you all at this point where you have this thing approaching camp, and basically at this point, it's right next to your camp, within 20 or 30 feet.
Okay.
And Darren's scrambling to kind of quietly rouse everybody and goes and like points it out.
Can I take a spot between the sleeping group and the sound? Can you put a dinosaur to sleep? Is that a thing? Can I do that? Hold on, let me read. Yeah. So, I mean, if it gets
movement and light with magic,
gets weird, we can. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's the best I
it's
got.
a good idea. Wait until everybody's awake, maybe.
All right.
So each of you can roll a stealth if you want to move to a next person and try to rouse them with a performance. And who are you going to, Darren?
Darren will go to Jared first.
Gotcha. And what are you saying to Jarek?
He's just like grabbing him by the shoulder lightly and like trying to shake him open or awake, and with his fingers on his lips, trying to keep him as quiet as possible as he wakes him up.
Let me get a insight from you, Jarek. So as you start to kind of like try to rouse Jarek, you're gonna see like a moment where he kind of like comes back into consciousness, and he's just gonna roll himself back over and kind of like pull the covers up a little bit higher.
Derek's like, "Hey, come on, man, wake up! Come on!"
Yeah, Jarek's a heavy sleeper.
In general, like when I've got somebody sleeping, you're trying to hit like a 20 DC between the two of your rolls. So when I say like you almost got him, that was almost getting him.
Wait a couple of seconds for Rin to do her thing before I get another chance to try again, or?
So, Rin, who are you trying to wake up?
Island or Niall.
Niall. We're gonna take a swipe at Niall.
All right. Are you back right now, Michael? I feel like we still have Michael kind of AFK for a second. I know he had to step away for a sec. But we'll kind of see how that develops in a moment here. But as Rin kind of starts to move around camp, whether it be like a bell that somebody else had set, some unfortunate sticks to step on, there is going to be a loud noise that is going to kind of jolt everybody to attention, where you're about to find out whether these creatures are hostile or not. And at present, there is the potential for 3 people, depending on what Niall rolls here, to be awake. Back. Niall, let me get an insight from you. So Niall's gonna do the same thing, where you just start to, nudge him, start to call to him, and he's just deep into this sleep and kind of just going to kind of turn across with it. So at present, Darren, Rin, the 2 of you are kind of in the middle of this moment where these creatures are as close to their camp or your camp as they might get. And nothing seems to be happening. The noise seemed to have stopped them, and they don't seem to be moving closer to you. They don't seem to be moving further from you. Let me get an insight from Rin and from Darren.
So we're quietly.
Insight.
Yeah, right now is what you 2 are going to propose in that moment.
Oh, that kind of insight. My bad. I thought you wanted my thoughts and opinions.
So yeah, Rin is on that like, oh shit, what have I done? And Darren is kind of like trying to calm you, where Darren is very much attuned to this fact that these are probably not predators because they're not reacting to the sound. It also doesn't mean that they're prey because they're not running from the sound. So you kind of have those like 2 aspects in play here. This is probably an omnivore. It could be a threat. But that noise at least tells you that this is not a direct threat. So right now, when you start to understand that, Darren, and when Rin is kind of like, not really panicking, but you have like an oh shit face on right now, like, what are you trying to convey to Rin to try to either comfort her, try to get her to move into action? Like, what's going on right now in your heads?
Well, so Darren like urges her to like think real quick. Does she have anything that could distract the dinosaurs?
I prestidigitation. I think I can create a little spark storm and a flash of light.
Let's try a flash of light and a big booming voice saying, "Boo!" and try and scare them away on the count of 3, maybe.
We might. Oh, maybe this might wake our party up.
Hopefully.
All
All right. On 3, okay?
All right.
All
1, 2, 3.
Boo! And we'll flash a light and prestidigitation and trying to seem big and scary and scare them away.
Wait, is Darren doing something here?
The both of us are.
Darren,
simultaneously. Sorry.
What is Darren using?
Darren's just
waving his hands around,
jumping up and down and shouting as loud as he can.
All right. So when you go to use prestidigitation, what do you have in mind that Rin is doing?
So a big flash, as large of a flash of fire and sparks and explosions as I can show, with smoke to I guess surprise the large things into running away.
So you could do like a small like shower of sparks. This is not like a big spell.
Or
This is
just like
like
a
a-
flash of light or something.
This is a.
You can light a candle with it.
Nah.
Oh, come on! Is that?
Such as a shower of sparks is one of the things that you can do. Faint musical notes, odd odor. You can make like a little bit of a color to mark a tree.
Okay, so this is so. So what you're telling me is this is time.
Are you like shooting like say like 6 or 10 sparks out
Are you-
towards these
Are
creatures?
you telling me this is a spell for ants?
Prestidigitation is like a wizard, like a magician, as we know magicians in our world, like go to, where it's like a way to like draw somebody's attention away while you hide something like in direct sight, kind of thing.
So run at him with a sparkle.
Yeah, so I got it appears that I am just a mess here and I don't know what to do. So I can cast asleep and hope, but we don't know anything about it. We don't know what. So
I think just big and scary. And
So we just
freaking
yell-
big, and
we yell at
also
it and-
try and get our party awake.
we bang sticks against metal
Yep.
to scare the
Yes.
people, to scare the dinosaurs, and to wake our party.
Does Darren have intimidation as a proficiency? Otherwise, let me get a performance.
Aha.
I have a -1
And
for
then-
Do I get
intimidation.
advantage for proficiency?
No.
No, all right, just checking.
And then let me have I feel like your prestidigitation is just going to be you're just kind of showering sparks. I feel like was like the closest you were thinking.
Yeah, I mean that's
so
gotta be terrifying for a dinosaur. It's gotta remind him.
let me have everybody who's sleeping roll a perception, and you're just looking at like a DC 10 to wake up right now. Gotcha. So the two of you are going to kind of get everybody moving in that moment. And let's see what's going to happen with the creatures. So in just kind of a moment of this happening, you all are going to see as these can't use 4 and then sets. 2 sets of eyes, 4 total eyes, are going to kind of snap towards Darren and Rin. You're going to start to notice as these sparks are kind of like flashing in these eyes, as these creatures like kind of snap to looking at you, and they're still not moving. They're still not running, and they're still not like charging towards you. But at present, you do now understand that there are 2 of these creatures. In the like flashes of light, they are indeed rather large beasts. They have like almost like a fish-like head that is kind of staring towards you in those flashes of light, and their body is more or less a very long, muscular body that just slowly kind of tapers down into a tail, and they are like walking on all 4s. Don't look especially threatening. They don't look especially dangerous, but this is the type of thing, if it does come to attack you, it's probably going to hurt. You don't want to be inside of this thing's mouth. But you now have everybody's attention, and these creatures are attending to you as well. So what's everybody thinking as this happens?
So as Jarek finally gets up this time, if he's able to make out these creatures, are these the things that he's seen before that they've come across
By the
before?
time you would be stirring, the light from the actual flashes, I think, would be kind of gone. You're more going to be kind of coming to awareness in like these 2. I mean, no offense to the 2 of you, but at present they look kind of foolish.
Hey.
Got it. So I think in that case, Jarek would just move towards Darren and Rinda, and then kind of like as he trying to move quietly because he doesn't know what's going on. Trying to maybe stealthily move over, and once he gets to them, just kind of ask like, "What's going on? What did you see?"
It's these big, scary dinosaur guys. They're gonna get us. We gotta go on now. Get out of here.
Yeah, in Darren's defense, you definitely could easily fit inside of one of these creatures' mouths.
I think when Niall wakes up, upon hearing all the commotion, he's just going to run outside. And I guess upon seeing the creatures, he's just going to run at them and make an attack against them.
So everybody can roll for initiative as you watch as Island is kind of like coming to and is about to start charging into these creatures.
Island's not charging into any creatures.
My bad. Yeah, Niall.
Island's thinking about casting light on a tree. But are we going to drop our tokens next to Eku?
In my defense, you both have the exact same name. The letters are just in different places.
It's fair. It's very fair.
I can't believe it took me this long to actually make that mistake, though, because it's been many times this session that I've gone to switch your names. I feel like somebody asked a question, though, that I did not catch. My apologies.
Oh shit! I just deleted my initiative because there's 2 tokens. Sorry. It was 7. I'll fix it.
All right, we still don't have a token for Rin. Do you have
Why-
a picture in mind for Rin?
Yes, can you use the picture that I have for my avatar?
I sent you a link to the
Okay.
token creator. If you
I can do
drop
that.
that into the token creator, that'll make the little circle, and you just want to drop it into Rin. Like if you just click edit, I mean, I'm sure Cameron can show you how to do it. He's got Darren set up there.
Okay, perfect. Is that why it's saying the result of this? It's not valid. Token, no token.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, unlike Roll20, you have to, if you don't click on like your token for before you roll the initiative, that message pops up. Yeah.
Hey, Mara, I've got a spiritual weapon token now. How do you want it?
I think you have the ability to edit that spiritual weapon. So if you want to drag it into the spiritual weapon, you can edit the spiritual the weapon and drop that in same way as adding it to a character.
Oh, cool. Okay, got it.
Yep, you should be able to see it down there and edit it. Didn't mean to do that.
What didn't you mean to do?
I dropped one of the tokens like directly onto the map from my like upload screen, so it showed up probably about like a 60-foot diameter.
Yeah, I would have run away from that thing. That was that big.
Yeah,
I mean-
yeah.
Where's everybody sleeping? Am I sleeping next to you guys? Remember Rin said she was between us and the dinosaurs.
Hey, can you? What am I?
Sorry, having a little trouble figuring the token thing. What did you say about it?
Oh, like if you drag the picture that she wants into where it just says drop image here, you'll see in the top right, it shows it with like the checkerboard background, and you just want to right click on that part with the checkerboard, save it as a PNG, and then when you come to roll 20 where her character is in the journal, just edit Rin and then drop that into the avatar.
Sorry, she's got the real picture on another computer, so I'm putting a temporary one in real fast.
All good. I mean, realistically, at present, I've got like the token dropped that is just a silhouette.
There, I got a little icon up now.
Taryn, you are just always a little bit too fast to grab your sneak attack for free.
Yeah. It's all good.
So I know for a fact that Taryn is going to start this off. So as everybody is kind of coming to, you're going to catch, basically as Niall is preparing to run off towards these creatures, and it's up to you to make a decision. What would Taryn like to do in response to these creatures? Oh, I had Darren next to Jarek just specifically because that was the last person you were waking up.
Oh, pardon me.
And then I had Rin kind of in front of, because she was doing the sparks towards the creatures. And like somebody said, I'm pretty sure um, Darcy had said she's going to cast the sparks at them.
Yeah. Our attempt was to scare them away without pulling our swords out. But foolish as it is.
So while you all are set here, what is Taryn doing?
Well, Taryn, being just having been woken up by very loud noises and seeing that Niall is all getting ready to charge in, he's thinking, oh, we're being attacked, so he's gonna charge in too. And attack. Let's see. Up and attack the one, the most northern one. The one right next to me now. Oh, and I have just gotten out my short sword. And it is working like it usually does.
I'm worried about you. You're 3 feet tall, and these things are very, 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 very big.
Oh, that poor short sword. Need to find a rust monster. Yeah, so you kind of like swing into this creature in the darkness and just kind of like swiping off at them. You can see that there's something in front of you, but you're not feeling any signs of purchase. There's no mist of blood that's just spraying over you to welcome you to the night. Any bonus action from you?
Yeah, I'm gonna cunning action disengage for 5 feet.
Gotcha. And then it will go to Darren.
Darren would like to spend his movement crawling up to a branch to gain vantage and then take a strike with his bow.
Mar,
You can certainly take a vantage point and take a shot.
Mar, did you turn off the fire? There was firelight there before. Is it gone now?
They in particular were watching in the darkness. You guys are in darkness right now.
Got it.
Firing off into the creature, you have a vague idea where they are at present, and taking the shot doesn't make any sort of sound that tells you something was injured.
No. I think that's my turn.
And then Niall.
Gonna move up to there. Attack him.
Southern one?
Yes.
My bad. In general, I prefer if anybody can use like cardinal directions for me, just because I'm not always looking at the screen.
Okay. For some reason, I rolled damage twice. That's 23.
Gotcha. Swiping out with your rapier, you stab in for a solid stab, and you feel like that last little bit of where it penetrates through the armor and starts to slide into the creature.
Okay. I'm gonna move my echo up. I'm gonna unleash Incarnation and attack again. I miss.
Yep, the second attack's going to kind of just scan off into the distance as you kind of stab out and just seem to miss the creature, and it's going to go to Rin.
So I guess I'm going to go ahead and take a shot with my crossbow. And I can take my movement after.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
take the movement like before. Your movement can split up throughout your entire turn. You're just limited to your actual speed. So as much as you want to do whatever you'd like movement wise, you can always do some movement.
Okay. I'd like, yeah. So I take a shot with my crossbow and then retreat, kind of back to where Jarek is standing.
South or north one?
What do you mean south or north one?
With the monster to the north or the south?
Oh, the south monster.
Gotcha. Make that attack.
So
yeah, under the actions on the left side of the crossbow, you should see like a little archery symbol. And if you click that, it should send it here. Bam. So taking the shots, you're going to hear like the ping of kind of the actual like armor plating of that creature. And the bolt is just going to kind of fly off into the distance. Roll a d4 for me, Bryn. I actually should have Darren roll a d4 for me as well. So in general, I don't like use like watching armor or watching like ammunition for whether you can get it at the end of a battle. If you don't run away from a battle, you pretty much will get your ammo back. because right now you all are shooting blindly into the jungle, that was a chance to see whether you actually lost ammo. But that arrow and that bolt are good to go. So y'all don't have to worry about keeping track of those things unless you would like to keep track of that ammunition wise. But
Right on. Is
after,
one where it breaks? Sorry.
what was that?
Sorry. Is the one where it breaks and is unrecoverable?
Yeah, effectively in this case, though, it's like getting lost in the jungle. But if I ever ask for it, it is purely because like that's a chance that you actually can lose an arrow.
Gotcha.
Like I've had people roll for it because their target is directly in front of like a stone wall, and there's I'll pick different dice each time. But in that case, yeah, it was a 1 to see if it basically got lost, like a 25% chance. They've had like a battle on a cliff face where it was the same type of thing. Certain shots had a chance of kind of flying off. But in general, most of the time I'm going to have you roll to see because I don't care to like most ammunition. It's just, yep, I know how to find that. But that's going to go to Jarek. Rin, you are welcome to finish your movement. I will almost always skip past your turn, but you are still allowed to move when you would like.
I'm good, thanks. Or like, I'll stay.
I'll stay.
All right, so Jarrett, kind of out of the corner of his eye, seeing Niall moving past, is going to move up towards him. Kind of as he's passing Island, he's going to be like, "We could use a bit of light," and drawing his scimitar will slash out at the creature to his the southern creature.
Solid strike, dropping another 9.
Woo!
Definitely like a spurt of blood that's going to kind of greet you with that slash from your scimitar.
All right, and I'm going to hold my ground there, so that'll be my turn.
So did Darren climb up into a tree? Am I correct about that?
Yes.
All right. So, everybody's going to hear as one of these creatures starts to kind of like bound forward, and there's like cracking of trees as this thing kind of goes from the ground up into the actual canopy itself. Jack, you can take an opportunity attack, but this creature is climbing above your head and it is rushing above and past everybody, and it is charging into Darren.
Excuse me?
Yep, climbing speed. So yeah, it is going to charge past everybody, and go straight for Darren, and then it's going to be on Island.
Island's gonna cast light on his dagger, so we have a 40-foot radius of some kind of light.
Yeah, so everybody's going to see this creature as it's basically bounding over your heads in the moment that Island like gets this light that starts to actually illuminate what you guys are dealing with. The one creature that is before Niall and Jarek right now is very clearly well wounded, and the other one's like running over your heads. What are you thinking, Island?
So can I also cast on my bonus action spiritual weapon?
100%.
All right, so I'm gonna do that.
Which one do you want to hit with it?
The south one. So let me drop that token.
So like next to Jarek?
Yeah.
Gotcha. As far as things go, spiritual weapons has terrible movement. I'm just gonna tell you that's probably the best place you want to put that.
That's great. I don't have control over it, so I can't move it around. So if you want to give me that, that'd be awesome. For later.
You should have control.
No, I dropped it, but I can't grab it to move it. It's just weird. Oh, no, that's my fault. I got it. I had my hand tool. So, spiritual weapon, I want to attack that one. Sorry, I'm having a terrible time with my world here.
So it
Miss.
swings out at the creature. Yeah, it's going to miss. I am assuming, Niall, you have your one marked to as your shadow.
Yes, I do. Yep.
I just got a solid crit on it, so 100% of its 1 hit points are going to dissipate as you lose your creature that's up. Of course, that's what I added you to initiative with. Do you remember your initiative offhand? Otherwise, I'll scroll up. 20?
I think it's 18. I think it's 18.
Yeah, I think it was
sounds right.
between Darren and Rin. Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's going to go to Taryn, and then Darren, you are going to be on deck.
Mara, I just had a quick question. If I was in darkness when I attacked it, did I have disadvantage or no?
It's not disadvantage. They are obscured, so they effectively have light cover when you guys are fighting in darkness.
Got it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I would have missed if I had disadvantage. So
no, the two of you who hit, you guys were well over what was needed.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Oh, I drew a circle, which I can't move and put in the right spot. So sorry about that. I was trying to figure out where my light was, but it's 40 foot from my character.
Yeah. I don't think your light affects anything as far as I think everything is well lit here. Unless you tried to run away from everyone.
No, I moved away from everybody a bit, but I was trying to not move too far away. Oh, well, thanks. Okay, that's my turn.
My bad. I already rolled the lizard that was following you, so it's on Taryn.
Oh,
All right. Darren does not normally have things come.
Sorry. It's on Taryn, not Darren.
Pardon me.
we have too many people with similar names. Let's see. So Taryn is gonna drop his short sword because it sucks, and pull out his short bow and attack the one up by Darren.
Gotcha.
It's infected my short bow too. God damn it!
It's just enough that you kind of plink off of a tree branch, and it kind of just flies off. And then you can bonus action or move, but otherwise it's going to go to Darren.
Darren.
Yarp. I don't even think any of you all knew each other's names when you created these. It's the worst part.
Totally didn't. It's pretty fun. But no, Darren is just gonna kind of try and find the nearest vine that he can grab and slide down as quickly as possible and use his movement to. He's not used to being confronted by things in the tree, so he immediately tries to flee, get some distance, and disengage from the monster, from the dinosaur. And if he situates himself comfortably on the ground, gonna take a shot with his bow again.
If you're going to disengage, oh wait, do rangers have a bonus action disengage? I feel like that's going to be your action. Otherwise, you're just breaking combat.
Pardon me, that is listed as my action, so I will not attack, but I would like to disengage.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, you didn't really say how high you were going. You're limited by your movement, but you can certainly drop down. And
20 feet would have been.
Yeah, so you can clear some space between you and it, but at present, that one is still up in the tree as well. Part of the biggest thing that I hate about VTTs is the 3 dimensions. I tend to use the red circle on your character for heights. Just in general, if you're ever wondering how high something is, I can tell you that. Or if you ever move up a height or start to gain flying, that's usually where I keep it, as the little red circle. But it will go to Nile, and you have the bloodied creature in front of you at present.
Okay. A bonus action, make a new echo, and attack it. The southern creature.
And then after Nile, it should go to Rin if you are ready to start yours as well.
Oh, weird. Didn't roll.
Yeah, I think if you click on the right side of like the rapier, you're going to get the damage only. If you click on the thing to the left side, it should roll all of them.
There we go.
So you're going to apply another 9. I think that's enough to kill that one, actually. Yep, just at 9 hit points. So you'll get the rapier just kind of like just under a little bit of its like armor plating. And as it kind of slides in deeper, you're just going to feel that moment where this creature's muscles start to go limp, and it's just going to drop to its belly, and it is dead.
I'm gonna move my echo up and unleash Carnation and attack this one.
That one's the one that's like limited by long rests, right?
Yes, that's my last. No, it's limited by. It's equal to your proficiency bonus, so that's my last one for the day.
Gotcha.
So I apologize. I was messing with my token. Has this last one taken any damage?
It is going to take some damage there. It still looks healthy enough. As the do you have to switch with it to make the attack, or the shadow actually makes the attack?
No, I can attack through it. I don't need
Okay.
I don't switch places with him. But I can do that, or I can use so I can attack from that's.
I gotcha. I normally don't do wild mount stuff. Like I normally don't do critical roll, so that is a very much a new class for me to have around. So I like read through it a little bit, but so yeah, it is a little bit wounded right now, Rin. You would have seen it take like, I feel like that actually ends up being like you almost see as Niall's like translucent shadow starts to attack, and his sword actually becomes like opaque and real as it gets close to this creature before it like sinks into its flesh. You'll see it like draw blood, and then it almost goes back to its translucent like normal kind of phase.
Neat.
Yep. And that's my turn.
Okay. Is it still super dark, or has it?
There was a light spell cast.
Oh, there's a light spell cast. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, so the green circle is where Island is in bright light. For all of you with dark vision, that whole 40-foot circle is bright light.
Okay. Okay. But I suppose. Well, I think I have nothing. I don't think I have any good spells for this dinosaur. So I'd like to, kind of approach next to Darren and Niall up there and take a big swipe at it with my sword.
Up in the tree, and you have your
He's in
crossbow.
Well, for fuck's sake. Then I would like to pull my crossbow out and very proficiently throw it up to take aim.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Is the shadow's not limited by height, right? I feel like it could walk up the same way as you.
Yeah, it can do the spire climb just like me.
Yeah, so I think the shadow would have to be 10 feet up there, and that's within range for it to attack. But crossbow wise, let's see that shot.
Yeah, it would have reached.
I hate 3D on VTTs. I hate flying creatures. I like having little clear plastic things that I can just say, it's that high. So Rin, as you like aim up with your crossbow and you release the bolt, you're just going to see as it kind of plinks off of some branches as well, and it's just going to kind of fall back down to the ground as another shot will miss. And this is going to go to Jerk.
All right, so Jared,
These hands weren't made for combat.
Jarek's gonna rush over, sing this thing up the tree. He's drawing his short sword as he goes, and he's just going to hold his scimitars ready to slash at it if it climbs or drops back down within reach.
Gotcha. Are you drawing your second weapon?
Yes, I can only attack with one of them on a reaction, but I'm drawing it.
That's
so
correct, yep.
for my yeah. So I've got them both out now. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is going to it's just got blood out for Darren apparently, and it is going to drop to the ground, kind of run after him. So opportunity attack from Yark. Solid hits, 10. That's going to leave this one severely bloodied. And then it is going to bite out. And I feel like that should be a solid hit. What's your DC?
My arm! It's 14.
14. Yeah, so it's going to hit you there as it bites out. I will almost always try to hide their modifiers for as long as possible, by the way. So that's not like a 15, it's higher than that.
Gotcha.
And then it's going to do 10 piercing damage as it bites down into you.
My entire arm!
I wish it was a grappler. So that's going to go to Eileen.
Island's gonna fire a short bow and swing his spiritual weapon over there, 20 feet, to make an attack.
Probably won't end up mattering, but when you click the spiritual weapon, make sure it doesn't try to cast it again, or it doesn't charge you for the spell.
Yeah, I'll double check that. So does that hit?
Solid hit, that's going to kill it.
All right.
So, that's at least a little taste of some combat for you all. Having everybody woken up and everybody kind of jumped to here, we're going to basically start here with you all trying to rest and continue this idea of trying to search for a goblin to capture. But at present, you all have a few large fleshy beasts that you can perhaps claim some meat from, and we'll end up picking up from there next week.